What up, and welcome to the Beneath the Dirt podcast. I'm your host, Rollbone. Thank you for tuning in. We got a special episode today. We are doing the year-end wrap-up. I've been hyping it up the last couple weeks, and I've been thinking to myself how I've been wanting to talk to somebody. It's been getting kind of lonely over here at Beneath the Dirt. I ain't had no guests on since March or April or some shit. I needed a fucking homie to talk to, homie to smoke with. So I brought on JokerzGallery. What's good, homie?
What's up, man? Appreciate the invite for sure. I always enjoy fucking being on Beneath the Dirt. I think the last time I was on here was like episode 100 when you had like a full panel. So it's been over a year since I've been on this motherfucker. So appreciate the invite.
Absolutely, man. It's, like I said, I've been rocking it dolo most of the year. I've only had 3 other people on the entire year, and that was not the plans for 21. I was gonna have a lot more guests, but didn't work out that way. But I'm glad you're here. And when I was thinking about doing the year-end wrap-up, who do I have good conversations with? Always have good conversations with you. Whether we agree or not, don't fucking matter. We always have fucking dope ass conversations. And I felt like it would just be right to finish out the year with a guest and to have you. So yeah, we got a lot of shit to talk about that happened throughout the year. And we were just talking pre-show before we started recording Cottonmouth Kings. So I figured we go right to the Cottonmouth King topic because it's fresh on our minds. Cottonmouth Confusion. It's kind of like my little series of Cottonmouth videos that I've been putting out the last couple years. And it's ain't any less confusing than it was fucking 3 years ago today. You know what I mean? Like, it's earlier in the year we had D-Loc hyping the Cottonmouth Kings demos. And it was the original demos. We've always heard about these demos for years. Saint Dog, D-Loc, Johnny Richter, and it was always something I wanted to hear. And for D-Loc to put it out, I thought was dope, just so we could get to hear these demos. I don't know if you have got a chance to hear the album yet.
Yeah, I heard.
Oh, okay. Sound quality wise, it's pretty much what I expected. Demos, you know what I mean? I wasn't expecting crystal clear audio, but just to hear them 3 together and to hear like Bonk Token Alcoholics at, the original was Underage Alcoholics, and hearing not much of the songs were actually changed. And there was parts on songs where Johnny Richter was rapping parts where Saint ended up rapping on the Royal Highness album. So it sounds like they were originally Johnny Richter. And, I had always remembered or, hearing rumors of beef between Richter and Saint because Richter would be rapping Saint shit on stage. But it sounds like it was originally Richter's shit anyway.
It was cool in the sense of, like you said, we always heard about that album existing. It was cool to hear it. Like you said, the audio quality wasn't really there, but it was the same way of like hearing Dog Beats or Intelligence and Violence. You've always heard about it, so it's cool to actually put the thing on and hit play and listen to it. And yeah, it was interesting to know that those songs that we eventually heard on Royal Highness that became like one of our favorite fucking albums, both of us, of all time, kind of started totally different because whenever Richter took over in the group, like you said, it was rumored that Saint was mad that he was rapping Saint's parts on stage. I know he changed some of the parts up, like whenever he would perform, he would change the lyrics up so it weren't just rapping Saint's parts verbatim. But like I always heard about that beef, but then to go back and hear that like Richter was involved in that recording and writing sessions of Royal Highness kind of put a little bit more legitimacy in him being in the Cottonmouth Kings moving forward to me.
Absolutely. I loved hearing the originals of those songs. Again, I was just surprised to hear, what Saint was rapping, or even Loc was rapping on Royal Highness was some of Richter's original shit. And then you had like remixes, you know, they had like the Neighborhood Watch remix, but he was like rapping about Big Hoss. It was like it ended up being the Big Hoss song on Royal Highness. It's weird
Yeah.
how like they took pieces, bits and pieces from different songs, and
Yep.
then like spread it out amongst other songs too. It was just really fucking dope to hear those OG, because I always wanted when Saint was when he left, got kicked out, whatever it was, I had always wanted Saint to come back to Cottonmouth Kings and have it be Saint, Logan, Richter, of course, Daddy X and everybody else. But I always wanted like, the three OG Kings back in the group. So it was just cool to hear those demos finally surface.
It, yeah, that era was almost like legendary that they performed together before it was just the two of them, that all three of them was together. So to actually see that there was proof of it, because like we said, it was just speculation for the longest fucking time and just hearsay. Nobody had ever heard it. So to actually have like physical proof of it, and even though it fucking sounds like it was recorded on like a 4-track back in 1997, it was still cool to hear. Just good historic. If you're not into like, not super into Cottonmouth Kings, you're not gonna like it. If you haven't been following this band for the last 20 years, you're probably not gonna like it. Just stick with Royal Highness and fucking High Society. But if you're somebody's been fucking rolling with them for 20 years and always heard that story that when they started out, it was the three of them and Richter was in the group, it was cool to see that there was actually proof that shit happened.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very
Spelled
dope to
with
see
it,
that.
spelled Cottonmouth with a C back then too. I always remember hearing that shit.
Yep. Yep. And Loke would, like, he was getting real nostalgic at the beginning of the year, posting old flyers with the Cottonmouth with the C and shit.
Yep.
It was dope. And then shortly after the Cottonmouth Kings demos album, D-Loc started hyping a new Cottonmouth Kings record. But he's only posting pictures of himself. New Cottonmouth album coming soon. And it's like, don't tell me this dude's going to fucking drop a solo album and it's going to be called Cottonmouth Kings. Lo and behold, 420 comes. It's a fucking D-Loc solo album labeled as a Cottonmouth Kings album. I never listened to it. I've heard clips. The clips that I heard weren't really that good. I don't know if you've heard it, but what are your thoughts on D-Loc releasing a Cottonmouth solo album under the Cottonmouth banner?
Just on that front, I don't think anybody likes it, but I also see why he's doing it, because if you're the Cottonmouth Kings, you've got like 100,000 followers on Spotify. If you just, that listens to them monthly. But if you just put your shit out of D-Loc, you probably got 5,000 followers that hear you monthly. So I can see it from a business perspective, and also from him like hanging on to something that he spent his whole youth building. He just doesn't want to like walk away from that. But I don't think any Cottonmouth Kings fan like us that grew up with them fucking enjoyed that just D-Loc was on there. I think we all thought Richter was going to be on there, and then that kind of fell apart. And once that fell apart, it was like, it's really hard to call a Cottonmouth King album a Cottonmouth King album, at least if two of them ain't on there. Like even whenever it was just Saint and Loc, like you can get by calling them a Cottonmouth King album like that. But once it came out, I mean, the music is just, it's a D-Loc solo album. It's nothing special. And the whole thing about Cottonmouth Kings was just the variety of music that they brought on an album. Like you would get everything from punk rock, West Coast hip hop. Sometimes you get, depending on who was writing the songs, you get more hardcore sounding shit. And it was just a D-Loc solo album. Every song basically was just sounding the same. So it didn't have that Cottonmouth King feel to it. But I also got to say, probably since 2009, 2010, something like that, I don't think any Cottonmouth King album that came out had a good Cottonmouth King vibe to it either. So at this point, I don't know what would have been done outside of them getting back together with Saint before he passed away to save like the musical legacy, because I didn't like the last 4 or 5 albums. Long Live the Kings was the last one I could really fuck with. I only like 4 or 5 songs off that. So it's not like they've been putting out fucking classic albums. So I wasn't really holding an album being called Cottonmouth King on such a high plateau or anything like that. It's just what it is. I can see both sides of it. I know why he did it. He did it so like like I said, whenever he puts that album out, it's immediately in 100,000 people's fucking playlist because they follow Cottonmouth Kings. They don't follow D-Loc. So I can see why he did it, but I wish he wouldn't. It's almost like Alice in Chains continuing on as Alice in Chains without Lane Staley. Like, I hate that.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I agree with you with you saying they haven't been putting out good music anyway, for the majority of the last decade at least anyway. But I enjoyed the Kingdom Come record. Um, you know, I wouldn't rank it that high among the Cottonmouth discography, but I enjoyed it because it was kind of like the Three Kings returning, even though Richter was a feature artist, which was fucking bizarre. But it was, Loc and Saint, which was, it was like Royal Highness shit,
Yeah.
Um, and there's a few bangers on that album. Specifically those songs with Richter on it. Like when all three of them were on that shit, those songs were like the standout songs. Just because, like you said with Cottonmouth, you get different styles. You got different you got Richter who's on maybe on some different shit than Saint, Loc, Daddy X, even going back to the other records. You got all these styles just coming in, and you're just gonna get a crazy ass Cottonmouth record from them. And I was not a fan of D-Loc doing the solo thing, calling it Cottonmouth. I get, like you said, from a business perspective, I get it. But really, you're just shitting on the legacy that you're trying to keep going. And is he really keeping it going with the new album? Like, did that many people really vibe out to it, check it out, still stream it 8 months, 7 months later, whatever? You know what I mean?
I I know now he's bringing like a live band with him, and I've actually heard pretty good reviews about those shows. So at least he's switching it up. I think he's figured out that if he's going to call himself Cottonmouth Kings, he's got to figure out a way to just not be D-Loc doing it. So the live band actually sounds like a good idea. I mean, I don't I don't really know what he could do. I mean, if he just calls himself D-Loc, like I said, he's going to lose hundreds of thousands of followers that he spent fucking his youth building up. So I don't even know what he could do at this point outside of fucking getting together with them other dudes that he fucking used to be in the fucking band with and getting them together to save, like, as far as the name having a legacy to it. Because right now, just bringing in random musicians and playing behind you isn't the Cottonmouth Kings either. So outside of making up with Daddy X, Richter. I don't think Bobby B's coming back. I don't think he's making up with anybody. But if you can get two or three of those dudes back, then I think you could start at least calling yourself the Cottonmouth Kings and the fans accepting you calling yourself the Cottonmouth Kings. Until then, I think it's just going to be kind of looked at with like a side eye. It's going to have to be really good music to get through the perception of it just being Loc trying to live off the name. So the music is going to have to be even better than it was originally to get some notice, because people are already writing it off without even hearing it. So your music's really got to stand out. And I don't know if I don't know if Loc himself, just him being the only one there, is capable of that.
Well, it was always rumored that Roke never even wrote his own shit anyway, or at least some of his shit. There was always, it's all rumors and shit. But Saint was writing his shit, Richter was writing his shit, Judge D was writing his shit for Cotton when he was in Cottonmouth Kings, when Judge D was in the picture back in the day. Always heard those rumors, and D-Loc would always, throughout the year, especially in the beginning of the year when people were really saying, talking about him just doing the Cottonmouth King solo, he was constantly defending it. I get, like I said, I get it. He's been doing this for 20 years. It's something he's invested so much fucking time, energy, blood, sweat, and tears into. And of course he's going to defend it. Johnny Richter remained largely quiet just over the, pretty much fucking ever. You never really heard Johnny Richter going on rants online, compared to other members. But he did do a live stream probably in the middle of this year where he was just like, look, I'm owed money. It's not Cottonmouth Kings if it's just one person. Um, I agreed more with what Johnny Richter was saying than what Loc was saying. And you know, even though he wasn't on that first album, he is an OG member, and he put fucking mad time into Cottonmouth Kings as well, and to know that he doesn't have a stake in the ownership of Cottonmouth Kings kind of fucking hurts, you know, and he doesn't have any say, apparently Loc has 50% of the rights, and then whoever the fuck Daddy X sold his rights to, Cleopatra or whatever, got the other
Yeah.
50%. But, it was good to hear from Johnny Richter. And I felt like he wasn't really even shitting on anybody. He was just kind of like, look, this is the fucking position I'm in, and is what it is. What would you think of Richter finally speaking out?
Usually when Richter talks, he kind of talks about it in his own perspective and doesn't throw people under the bus like you're talking about. He kind of kept it just this is what's going on with me and why I'm not fucking with the Cottonmouth Kings right now. I think he did a pretty good job laying everything out. I think he showed he was pretty level headed, and I think that's why you hear so many people saying Richter was like the coolest one in the group or whatever. He seems like the most level headed one out of all of them. I mean, loves Saint to death, man, but that motherfucker was crazy nuts. And fucking
Right.
D-Loc, man, that dude's fucking crazy. And Daddy X seems pretty fucking stuck in his own ways, like he kind of only sees his own path. And Richter's always been that chill dude, man, and he really came across with it coming out like that. He wasn't trying to take anybody down. He was just letting everybody, all the Cottonmouth Kings fans, know why he wasn't on that album.
Yeah. If you're not getting paid for something you're a part of, um, why would you want to do it? He was talking about Loc sending him songs and not. It sounded like that he just wanted Richter to do the songs after he was sent them and not really be in the studio. That's weird too. That's some shit that fans don't really see or know about till probably after the fact. But you know, to not be in the studio working on songs and just being sent some shit, and you're probably like, "What the fuck is this? I don't want to write to this."
And then you can definitely hear it whenever the fans listen to it in the music. If you hear that song, you could tell it was made by email and it wasn't made back in like it was back in the day whenever everybody was writing together and helping. We talked about like Loc not really writing a lot. Like Richter and Saint was always the writers, and then D-Loc, you'd be right there beside them, and I'm sure Saint and Richter was helping them out with his shit. So it was like a collective effort of everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, you know, uh, and then when Richter was doing that live stream, more controversy. King Click forms. Johnny Richter, Chucky Chuck, Obnoxious, King Click. I know you took kind of like, hey, this is kind of similar to what Loc is doing with Cottonmouth Kings. King Click is Cottonmouth Kings. This isn't fucking Cottonmouth Kings. I agree, but it's tough. I think it would have been easier to swallow if Obnoxious wasn't in the group. It was Chucky Chuck, an OG. Chucky Chuck been around for a long ass time. If it was Chucky and Jay Rick, I feel like that might be easier to take in as a fan. And at the same time, did I ever really? I guess Cottonmouth Kings had that, the King Click song. So it's just
And
fucking.
there's that video where D-Loc's wearing the shirt that says King Click. D-Loc was calling out King Click the earliest. He calls out King Click on Royal Highness. So I just thought it was like a shot at D-Loc. It's like, you're going to take the thing that he probably repped the hardest. Like, I couldn't find a picture of any of the other guys in a video rocking the King Click shirt, but I could see D-Loc. And it was kind of just like I said, it seemed like it was just all about like a personal shot at D-Loc, because the reason I was saying I could justify D-Loc keeping the Cottonmouth Kings name is because of all that established equity he built up in the past 20 years. And I was just like, why don't they just call themselves the suburban noise soldiers and already have that like backed up, and you've already got a catalog, you've already got streaming fans and shit like that. It just seemed like they went out of their way to take a shot at D-Lo. That's what I didn't like about it.
Yeah. Um, it's Richter probably felt the same way when D-Loc released that Cottonmouth Kings record, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's probably what led to it. Like, let's get a shot in and call it King Click. That was the only part I didn't like about it. But I mean, I think they would have had a better reception if they were just Subnoise Soldiers, because that was already an established name, and that's basically what they are. That's basically what
Right.
Subnoise Soldiers always was just a
I
collection
mean,
of the guys on that label, and that's what they are.
yeah, and the EP was just, I think it was what, 6 songs, and it had fucking everybody from Suburban Noise on there. It was damn
Yeah.
near a fucking Noise Soldiers album, you
So
know?
yeah, it just seemed like they did the opposite. Like they picked a name that wouldn't help them establish their name. They could have went with Subnoise Soldiers. Like I said, it's already built, but they went with like a new name just to kind of get a shot in on D-Loc. I thought that was kind of lame, but the music was
Yeah,
good. I can't front, like the music was dope.
yeah. I don't mind the name because it's not actually Cottonmouth Kings. Like if they were to somehow come out and fucking Cottonmouth King it up too, I'd be like, what the fuck is going on here, bro? This is some wild shit. You know?
That's the next step in this fucking saga. Is there going to be 2 Cottonmouth Kings, and the funny part is neither one of them is going to actually be Cottonmouth Kings. What anybody wants to see.
That'd be fucking wild, yo. And I wouldn't be surprised after all the shit that we've seen over the last few years. I wouldn't be fucking surprised to see that shit. That'd be fucking
we
crazy.
we
And then
we might actually have a third one, because I've heard rumors that Daddy X and Dirtball recorded a song together recently, so they might put out their own version of Cottonmouth Kings.
there you go. There you go. Daddy X and Dirtball working again.
And
Shit.
Dirtball confirmed that too. Dirtball's the one that said it, so it's not like
Oh,
rumor.
word?
Yeah,
What are you going, a live stream or something?
he answered like it was a comment in like one of his social media sections or something. He's commented that him. They asked something about if he'd heard from Daddy X. It was whenever everybody was talking about it and shit. And he's like, not only have I heard from him, we're working on shit.
That's really surprising. Holy shit. Not only did Dirtball find Daddy X, but he got him working on some fucking music.
Straight up.
That's crazy.
So we
Yeah,
might
Dirtball,
have Cottonmouth Kings Part 3 as well. Have 3 of them going.
shit. Dirtball's shit, man. Shout out to Dirtball. His last album was fucking fire. And he was always one of my favorite artists from Suburban Noise. They had a shitload of artists back in the day. I always fucked with Dirtball. Dude could rap his ass off. Yeah.
He had a group with like Big B, didn't he? When they first
No,
started,
I don't think so. It's just when Big B and Dirtball first like started popping up on Suburban Noise, they just like worked with each other fucking really heavily. Like that second Subnoise Soldiers album, like they're on so many songs together. I remember going to Cottonmouth shows back in the day, like they would just split a set between the two of them, like they would just rock each other's songs.
yeah, that's why I thought they had a group, because there's so many songs and videos. I remember the videos on the KMK, like bonus DVDs they put out. They'd always be a couple videos, and it'd be Big B and Dirtball.
Yep. Yeah, Big
Kind of
B
like
was
kind of like ABK and Blaze, just kind of work together really well.
Yeah. Yep. And then just recently, just this past week, actually, ICP did they got their December streams going, and they did ICP Investigates the Fall of Cottonmouth Kings. They had Chucky Chuck on the show, Kevin Zinger, DJ Bobby B, who is somebody that we've seen type and write shit online, go on long rants online, but never like do a video. And then Johnny Richter was supposed to be on it, but he wasn't on it. And that show was fucking dope. That was such a good show, man. Like, I love Cottonmouth Kings so much. Like, I don't want that to get lost in the sauce. I love Cottonmouth Kings so much. And when I saw ICP doing it, you know, Cottonmouth toured with ICP back in the day. They always worked with each other throughout their career. And ICP's kind of in the same boat as us, as like, what the fuck happened? Why aren't these guys together? You know, what are they doing? What'd you think of the show?
I thought it was super dope. I thought it was pretty cool how into it Violent J was. Violent J knew like all kinds of facts. Like I thought it would be kind of them like watching videos and talking, and then like talking about Cottonmouth Kings after the video played, kind of like they did with like the Bigfoot shit. But like, man, Violent J had all the questions he wanted in his head, and he knew what he wanted to ask. Like usually it's Jump Steady kind of running those type of shows, like with questions that he's like got printed up. But man, he didn't need his printed up questions. Jay had like all the good questions, like everything I wanted to ask. Like Jay hit it, and it was cool that they brought the former members and then people that was around on. It was a good listen, hearing all the perspectives, because usually you'd hear one perspective and then it'd be like 2 years later you hear another guy's story, and then 6 months later you hear another guy's story. So it was cool to hear them all back to back right there, and kind of like judge for yourself who you think was in the wrong.
Yeah. You know, you got different sides. Everybody's got their story. You know, that's their fucking story. Can't say that it's, you know, not true. That's their fucking truth, you know. That's their fucking story. I thought it was interesting that they were set to bring Bobby B up, and then when they came back from the break and they're like, "Oh, we're actually going to go to Kevin Zinger." And I remember thinking to myself, like, no, Bobby B was like, I'm not going on until this motherfucker goes on. Because we all know Bobby B, how vocal he is against Kevin Zinger. So he probably wanted to hear what Zinger had to say, and then was like, you know, basically, fuck this guy.
Yeah, he basically came on right after Zinger and then blew up every like point that Zinger was trying to make. The whole story about like the merchandise, I always thought that was weird that that all of a sudden they started pushing the Spade logo. I remember they started doing it around like Rolling Stone time. It went from like the KMK logo being pushed to the fucking the Spade, like Johnny Richter got the tattoo and everything. And then to find out that they had no stake in that whenever they were the ones that were making it popular is pretty fucking lame. Like it was them that made that shit pop. It wasn't fucking Zinger. It was fucking Cottonmouth Kings rocking that shit. Like people thought it was legit. Like even Shaggy said it on the show. He thought that Spade was a fucking Cottonmouth King logo. He didn't know it meant SRH. So yeah, to hear that and to hear that they didn't have any stake in that and didn't make any money from it is kind of lame, man. Because Zinger has always came out of most of these conversations looking like the best, in my opinion, as far as morals and a good fucking dude. Like he always seems like he was the one that would like go out of his way to make sure fans didn't get screwed and shit like that. But if he was screwing them dudes, it was fucking putting his fucking company on the map. That's a bad knock on Zinger, and I can see why Bobby B wanted to wait until after he went on so he could fucking pretty much just drop dimes on everything that Zinger tried to say.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. Like I just always assumed SRH was a KMK thing too, you know,
Yeah.
along with Suburban Noise. Um, and to hear that after the fact, because I mean, the Spade was on fucking everything, and I never thought about it like until now that everything's being brought to light. I didn't really think of it. I was just like, oh, that's Cottonmouth shit. You know, it's just
Yep.
normal everyday shit. You don't think about it. And now it's like Bobby B's like, nah, this dude was putting his logo on our shit, saying we were owners, taking the fucking money. That's that's some crazy shit to, if it's true. That's some crazy shit, man. You know, the business side of shit, the shit that we don't know, we don't see, and the fuckery with Cottonmouth Kings and just hearing everybody's perspective. It was really dope to hear Bobby B. That dude was nervous as fuck when the camera first went on him. His voice was cracking. He was fucking. You could tell he was nervous as shit. Jay would ask him like, "So where's Daddy X?" He'd be like, "Fuck Kevin Zinger." He'd go off on a whole nother rant and not even answer the question.
Start talking to the dude that was in the room with him. Like, just start talking to some random dude that was chilling. Like, play this. I can't hear this. Yeah, he had like adrenaline going through him. He was so fucking pissed off from listening to Zinger. He had that adrenaline going, man. He was hype.
The ICP for that. I highly fucking enjoyed that shit.
Yeah, that was dope. I'm glad that was like the one that debuted on Twitch for free, because everybody got a view of like the best fucking material that you could. Like if you want to fucking watch that stream, like, and you've seen that Cottonmouth King stream, like you want to come back and watch all the other shit they do, because that one was dope. That was a really good one to be the first one for everybody to see for free.
of all the streams that I've seen a lot of them. That's right up there as like one of the best ones that they've done. Yeah,
Yep. It's up there with
easily.
the Jam Exam and the time they toured Southwest Detroit whenever they did the tours. That was up there with those, in my opinion.
I thought it was interesting that Violent J said, even if as going back just a few years, probably after the Crown Power album or during that era, he talked about being in talks with Daddy X of signing the Cottonmouth Kings to Psychopathic Records. And it was, supposed to happen and just, fizzled out. That's probably when Daddy X just fucking pieced the fuck out on everybody, But that would have been some shit if Cottonmouth Kings signed to Psychopathic, 5-6 years ago, whatever.
They tried to sign him originally like 20 years ago. They almost had him then. So Jay's always wanted him to be a part of the label. And I think that kind of push from signing to Psychopathic and that kind of hype it would have had might have brought the group back together. I think that would have been the best thing that they could have done if they were able to get on Psychopathic back then. And like you said, Daddy X just stopped talking to him. Like you said, it was all good. They're talking about it. Sounds like they're serious. And then just he stops returning calls. So it's fucking weird, man. Like turning down a lot of fucking money, man. You sign with Psychopathic all of a sudden, you get that fucking push. You got an opportunity to get as hot as you were back in the fucking early 2000s.
Like automatically, just from the announcement of your signing, there's that fire again, like just immediately. Like it's
and all the fucking old school Cottonmouth Kings fans gonna go back and start bumping all that old material just to get hyped for the new shit. Like that would have brought some energy and buzz around the Cottonmouth Kings name, which it hasn't had for a very long time, other than negativity.
And I like you said, it was dope that Violent J was so into it, asking all the right questions. I think one, because he's a fan and he's friends with these guys. They toured so many fucking times, collaborated on so much music. Bobby B even said, if we were to get the group back together and I'd be a part of it, I want you be the mediator of that shit. You putting it together, nobody else. So, they were talking about, the Gathering of Dreams is coming up. It'd be a fucking dream to get Cottonmouth Kings reunited and back on stage. And he was even bringing Dirtball. He's like, I know Dirtball's not an original member, but bring him back into it. I'd be for that too. I mean, shit.
The funny thing that I was thinking the whole time he's saying this, he's like, I can't understand why Daddy X just doesn't put the personal shit aside to get this fucking band back to where it's supposed to be. I'm sitting there thinking, has this dude totally forgotten about Dark Lotus?
Right.
You're doing the same fucking thing, motherfucker.
I was thinking the same shit. I'm like, hey, you're saying this shit's too petty. You're losing out on too much money. Yeah. What about Dark Lotus? Twisted. You're missing out on mad money too.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking whenever he was saying that shit. I was like, he has totally forgotten about Dark Lotus because he keeps saying he can't imagine why fucking Daddy X was doing this. Like, man, you're doing it too, so you can obviously imagine it. You're fucking doing it.
but then after he talked to Bobby B, he goes, "Oh, maybe it is too fucking fucked up and
much personal shit.
Yeah, can't be repaired." I mean, same could be, when he was realizing that, and that's when I started thinking, hey, maybe that's ICP and Twisted too. Maybe they can't. Maybe it's beyond fucking repair at this point.
Yeah, it's with Cottonmouth Kings. It's like almost anytime one beef gets cleared up, there's 18 other layers of beef that opens up whenever that one beef gets sealed up, and that could be what it is with ICP and Twisted as well. The way you could say it's a lot easier said than done. But that's what I was thinking the whole time, Violent J's. I just can't imagine what Daddy X is thinking, not fucking be it out and getting this band popping. Like everybody fucking from this era is making a lot of money right now. Everybody, from the 90s, early 2000s wants to see them in concert again. I'm like, Dark Lotus.
I know. Fucking true. But how dope would it be, ICP's farewell tour, it's Cottonmouth Kings and ICP. You got Loc up there, Richter up there, Daddy X up there. Throw Dirtball in the picture, Bobby B, fucking find Lou Dog wherever Lou Dog is. If you were to get all that, like basically the group back together like that in full, minus Saint, rest in peace, Saint. That would be some shit, man. That would be some shit.
That'd be dope. It'd be like the what was it, Juggalo Funhouse tour that they were on. Find Funk Junkies, see if they're still together, and fucking bring the whole fuck crew from 25 years ago out.
Wicked Wonka tour, fucking throw Tech Nine on that shit.
Hell yeah.
That'd be dope, man. But yeah, Cottonmouth Confusion is kind of like my ongoing series with Cottonmouth Kings, and we are just as confused as we were fucking since ever, really.
When
Ever since
just as
Saint left the
confused as
group.
when it started.
Yeah, ever since Saint left the group, that's when the confusion began. And here we are, fucking 25 years later, just as confused.
It is true that when Saint left is when the confusion started. They say it themselves. That picture that was inside High Society, it fucking has like 9 guys in the picture because they wanted to confuse the record label and not let them know that Saint wasn't in the group anymore. So there's just a big giant picture. So yep, ever since Saint left, it's been fucking Cottonmouth Confusion.
Yep. Yeah, I remember opening that High Society, the big ass poster.
Yep, that's what I'm talking about.
Who are all these people? Who are these people? I had no fucking idea.
I was wondering if Saint started painting his face. So it's like, Saint got his face painted because Corporate Avenger was on there and he had the spiky hair like Saint had in the first album. I was like, Saint got his fucking face painted?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like, what the fuck is going on, man?
And then one of their DVDs, like Daddy X, was like, the reason we did that is so the record label wouldn't notice that we kicked the main guy out of the group.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy, man. Cottonmouth Kings, hopefully, I'd love to see it fucking just, come full circle, everybody back together, all that shit.
Like you said, especially if it's like opening for ICP on their farewell tour, it just makes sense, man. Cottonmouth Kings is so synonymous with ICP and Juggalos.
100%. It'd be super, super dope.
Yeah, that'd be some nostalgia shit right there.
But yeah,
put Saint up on the video screen during Pass Me By and get everybody in the fucking crowd crying, or get that fucking footage that I found where he's performing it.
Yep,
that'd be dope.
Yeah, when you posted that footage, I was like, I've never seen this. This is so dope. Watching, D-Loc, Saint up there singing, like Saint's up there like rapping along to the song and shit. I'm like, yo, these dudes were really fucking down with the clown like that. Like they were really juggalos like that.
Saint was so into it and singing every word that Violent J at one point notices it and just gives him the mic. He's like, this motherfucker's nailing every word. I'm just going to give him the mic.
There you go. I'm fucking done. My voice hurts. So dope.
Hell yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess since we're talking a lot of ICP now, it was a pretty big year for ICP. It all, the year started out, they're riding off of their streams. They had like the Patreon streams that started last October, December, and then going into the year, the new year, they had announced February streams, but they had not sent out the merch packs for the previous 2 monthly streams, and that was like a whole fucking thing for the first couple months of the year. People did end up getting, most people, I still see people saying that they never got their shit, but most people got their shit. And one of the things that people got was our first taste of Yum Bedlam, Yum Lure, the EP, kind of like the prelude to the the Bedlam that was going to be dropping this year. And that EP for me was just, it wasn't it. I was like, oh, I took it as a good sign that I didn't like it. I was like, okay, these are the songs that they were like, nope, not good enough for the album. And we're just, we'll put it out. I don't know why you would put out bad songs. It's just my opinion, but I took it as a good sign that the EP wasn't that good to me. What did you think of Yum Lure?
I thought it sounded not well produced. It reminded me of the one that ICP produced themselves. That EP they produced, it just didn't sound like it was a fully finished product, which it might not have been. They were trying to get it out so they could send it to the people that had subscribed to Patreon. So they might not have been able to take their time with it. But I would say 70 to 75% of the reception that I seen to that album was negative. People didn't like it. And I think so much so that ICP seen that and totally just redid the album because Ding Ding Doll was supposed to be a single from Yum Bedlam. Whenever they released it, it was up as a single from Yum Bedlam. And then once the response they seen from Lure, they pulled that off even. So that was supposed to be a single from the actual Yum album, and they pulled that off. So I think they just, once they heard that response, they're like, man, we got to rework this shit. We got to get Straight Jacket back involved because Straight Jacket had left, and then he ended up coming back before they finished the album and ended up working on it. So I think they heard the response and maybe just heard it themselves, and the music was like, we got to revamp this shit.
Yeah. Again, like going back to my point of I'll take it as a good thing because when they released Ding Ding Doll as a single, it was such a weird song to release as a single for an album. Like it was so it was such a mellow, not hype at all. And, it had storytelling from Jay, which I'll always say Jay's one of the best fucking storytellers in hip hop, period. I don't give a fuck what anybody say. But it was just such a weird single. And when it was on the album, I was like, okay, this ain't going to be on the actual album. This is going to be a good sign or this is a good sign in my opinion. And the other thing that we got during that part of those merch packs was the, what the fuck was it called? Welcome to the Peep House or some shit. The Halloween EP that they put out where Juggalos voted on topics, who produced it, the cadence of the songs and shit. And then they ended up adding 3 bonus tracks to it as well. One of which sounded like a Fearless Fred Fury leftover, which I thought was fucking fire. I thought that song was super dope. I can't remember the name of it. But I enjoyed that Halloween EP a lot more than I did Lure. The fact that they were even able to use other people's ideas and then create songs off that shit. Like, yeah, I guess they originally came up with all these ideas for people to vote on, but it's not necessarily what ICP would have put to the, that specific beat. And the fact that they pulled it off for 3 songs, pretty fucking impressive in my opinion.
That's what they were talking about, taking so long for people to get that fucking album, is they were like, whatever we made this, you produce ICP idea, we thought it was going to be, we've got a list and the Juggalos tell us what to do and we do it. And he's like, but the Juggalos picked exactly the opposite shit that we normally do. So like we had to totally refigure how we were going to make these songs, and it took a while. So I thought that was dope. I thought that was one of the better ideas on the Patreon. They said they didn't want to ever do it again because of how difficult it was. So I don't know if we'll ever see it again, but yeah, it was pretty cool watching that shit live. Especially you felt like you had a hand in fucking creating some of ICP's music. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, nobody does that shit.
Yeah.
But I felt for the 2 out of 3 songs were fucking dope. I can't remember the fucking names off the top of my head, but I know it was the second and third track. One of them was pretty much a Shaggy solo track, and the shit was fucking fire. Cartoon Goon, like it was such a weird beat. Shaggy the Airhead produced that beat. Such a weird beat for the topic and how they were rapping over that beat, but the rapping, the craziness of that track and all the sound effects and shit was so fucking fire. I love that shit. Like that EP was super fucking dope to me. I was like, oh, okay. They put out Lure, which is like songs that they were going to use for Bedlam, but maybe not anymore. And then here's these other tracks that were just fucking really good. I dug that Peep House EP a lot.
And then the other thing they put out was they made the actual DVD, a physical copy of their tours of Southwest Detroit, like the historical tours. I thought that was super dope. That's one of the best episodes they've had on the entire Patreon, getting to go see all the fucking places that were mentioned in songs. The coolest part is whenever they discover that the fucking rope from the tire from Dog Beats is still hanging from that fucking tree. That's super dope, man. old school nostalgia right there. So I really dug that DVD. I thought that was cool. They put that out.
Yeah, that DVD is fucking fresh. Like when I watched that show when they did the streams, it was like, okay, yeah, this definitely one of the better shows. I love when they just do shit like that, just let you in behind the scenes stories and shit like that, shit that took place and
That's why
where they grew up.
the jam exams are so good because of those behind the scenes stories. Like Violent J just mentions that fucking Guts on the Ceiling is a fucking inspired by a true story. None of us knew that. That fucking album's almost 30 years. He just brings that up like it's just normal conversation. He's like, yeah, I was chilling at my friend's house. His dad killed himself and his fucking brains were dried on the ceiling. That's where that song came from. I was like, what?
That story makes that song even much better than it already fucking like that song's already dope. But now it's even better because like it's based on some real shit. That's fucking crazy, yo.
Straight up. That was what's so cool about those jam exams and the slideshows that they do where they play like they just put a picture up on the screen and let them talk about it. Like those are my favorite ones. I don't really like the Zen of Love or fucking Juggalo Gong contest and all that shit. Like I like the historical shit, the ones where it's like Jay and Shaggy just talking. Even like the road stories, that was dope. Whenever my favorite one was when Jump Steady was talking about that radio station was talking shit about ICP. So him and Tom Dub went and fucked up the entire radio station, fucked up every fucking window in every van they had, punk like stabbed all the tires, fucking spray painted the windows and shit. Then they
Yep.
come home, find out it was the wrong radio station. It's so psychopathic.
Yeah, it is hilarious. Like shit like that, like them, they're such good storytellers too. When they're
Yo,
talking about that shit, like that was fucking hilarious.
Telling that story about fucking that juggalette that had the tattoo of her boyfriend that was in prison for murder on her back.
Yeah, fucking great, classic Isaac. I swear,
Yeah, that
just
shit
so
was dope.
super dope. What do you think of the Patreon streams in general? Because I think they're fucking dope. I always said that they were priced too high. They should have a cheaper option. Have the higher priced option, maybe offer a T-shirt or a CD single like they were doing. Now it's on Twitch, which I think is a W for everybody because ICP could still get money, but now we could watch it for free. And if you want to toss them $5 to subscribe to their Twitch, or it's free if you have an Amazon Prime account, you could just subscribe for free. That way you can watch all the past subscriptions. But in general, like the streams, even though I said they were priced too high at 66.50 or 66.65, I felt like they
6650.
were 66.50.
Yeah.
I felt like it was worth that price tag. Like they put a lot of work into those shows. Like especially now, like the quality of like that Cottonmouth special that they did that we were talking about like was really fucking good. And they definitely I always felt like they were worth the 66.50. Yes, it was expensive, but for the most part, the quality of the shows were really fucking good. Even when they were doing like the Mad Professor's Lab and fucking just doing, mixing vinegar and baking soda and being like, oh shit, like it was dope. It was fun.
I think you could see on especially those Mad Professors that they spent a lot of money on that shit. Like they would, especially the second one, whenever it was just Shaggy and Jump Steady, they would, and Jay didn't show up for that one. So like, and that was the second one. So they tried to make it bigger and better. You could tell they spent a lot of money on that shit. So yeah, I could see them having to charge the 66.50. But like you said, I wish there was a lower tier because it's worth it if you're a physical collector, especially like that fucking Fearless Fred Fury Ultimate Edition they put out. That shit's super dope, man. Like, but I'm not a physical collector, so I didn't really have any incentive to want to pay 66.50. But if it was like $29.99 or $19.99, I would have paid that just for the fucking streams because I'm just not interested in merch at this point. It's just something I've been moved on from like physical copies of CDs to streaming. So I wasn't interested in any of the physical copies, but I would definitely would have paid $29.99 a month for the amount of work they were putting in, because it was 3-hour streams 3 times a week. And they usually had stage sets. They usually had lighting. They usually had guests. I'm sure they flew in all those guests for like the talk shows. Like whenever they would bring in like Hornswoggle, probably paid for him to come there and shit like that. So they were definitely spending money. I can see why they were charging. And it was a justified price if you were somebody that was into the fucking merch, for sure. But for people like myself that isn't into the merch, so we're just kind of left out in the cold, because I don't want to spend $66.50 because $40 of it's on merch I don't want. So like
Right.
people like me were just kind of out. So I'm really glad that they're on Twitch now, to where you can just, like you said, pay $5.99 to subscribe, throw them some tokens if you want to, and shit like that. That way everybody can watch it. Nobody's limited. It doesn't have to be just the physical collectors and the people that are interested and that actually have $66.50 to blow every fucking month. It's everybody now. Everybody can afford $5. And if you can't afford the $5, watch that shit live. It's free completely.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I forgot about that Fearless Fred Fury Deluxe Edition. That shit was fucking fire. And not
Yeah.
to mention, you got the, the Elite Juggalo coins. I got 2 of them right here. They're beaming out of the fucking seams. If you can't tell, they're fucking fresh as hell. You hold them, you feel the power.
Got that fresh ass gauntlet glove that I put a picture of earlier in the year.
That was so dope when you did that. I was like, this is perfect. Perfect. But speaking of merch, during the June streams, there was supposed to be a Bloody Brothers single, and that never fucking happened.
And that's going to lead me into the next point of the Patreon. I think ICP probably got kicked off of Patreon for continuously not fulfilling their obligations, because Patreon probably got a shitload of people message them saying they didn't get their merch. And then like we said, there's a few people that are still saying they didn't get their merch from way back. So they're getting those people already. And then nobody that subscribed got that fucking Bloody Brothers. So I'm speculating, it's pure speculation. I think they probably got kicked off of fucking Patreon because Patreon got tired of having to refund money.
Yeah. What I would say to that is, I remember when everything was going, like, people weren't getting their shit. I remember looking into getting refunds, and Patreon said, we have nothing to do with the services that these people offer other than hosting their shit. If you want refunds, contact them directly. We're not going to give you a refund. So,
but then people that paid with PayPal could just dispute it through PayPal, though.
Right.
So they were probably getting a bunch of disputed PayPals, and like it's fucking up their money and fucking up them being able to budget what they're, if you got 6,000 people that paid $66.50 and Patreon's expecting some of that money, and then all of a sudden you don't get it, that's gonna fuck up your book. So I see them just telling ICP, if you can't get this shit straight, we can't fucking have you on the platform anymore, because it was weird how they put out the whole schedule about it being on Patreon. And then all of a sudden it just stopped being on Patreon. I'm pretty sure when they tried to log in that next time for the beginning of the next month, they had that message on there that you no longer meet your obligations of being a fucking Patreon page.
Right. Yeah. And I think another reason why it's a win moving to Twitch is don't offer any kind of merch. And so now you don't have that burden on your back. And, if people want to donate, they can donate. And people are fucking clearly donating to that shit. If you watch in the chat, people are fucking donating out the ass for that shit. So, money to still be made. Keep the juggalos happy by just watching the shit for free and not promising merch that we're not going to get.
Yeah, that's the biggest win, is them not owing anybody anything. Because if you go back to the very beginning of the year when people were waiting on their shit, every time ICP posted something, it wasn't even about the Patreon. It would just be any ICP post. Like 75 comments, and that motherfucker would be like, where's my fucking coin? Where's my fucking CD owed? I still ain't got it. It's 4 months behind. Like, and that shit became fucking overwhelming there for a little while. Like as soon as you'd see an ICP post, there would just be mad ninjas just commenting they ain't got their shit. So it's good that they're not going to owe anyone anything from this.
Yeah, big W on that. like just in general, them moving to Twitch is just a win for everybody. Get to watch it for free. Pay the $5, you get to watch the previous streams. Just just a good move, and the streams are fucking entertaining, man. I mean, it's ICP. It's not often ICP's not entertaining to watch.
I mean, they've been working together for 35 years, so they got pretty good chemistry together.
Right. And they, were friends before that.
Shaggy could read a phone book and be entertaining.
Right. Yeah, man. He's got the Shaggy and the Creep show. That show's entertaining. I enjoy watching that. We did have a gathering this year, which was kind of a surprise considering the state of the world. But festivals came back this year, and ICP fucking threw one together at the last minute. Some people were disappointed by the lineup. It wasn't a stacked lineup like previous years. So was it a disappointing gathering or not? I say no, just for the simple fact that there was a fucking gathering this year.
Yeah, I don't think you could say it was disappointed at all. I think you could say maybe the pricing was a little disappointing, that they didn't have to pay any of those big names and it was more expensive than usual. But that could also be, having to cover your ass because you don't know how many people's going to show up. So you got to make sure you charge a premium. But people were hyped for it, man. That's the first time I'd ever seen car passes sell out in the first day that those shits were released. Usually you can buy those all the way up until the week of the gathering. So people were ready for it. And then the clowns performed, man. The clowns stepped up. That fucking bizarre show they did, they hit every fucking lyric. Like Violent J must have heard like ninjas on the fucking internet talking shit about him missing lyrics on those fucking Patreon concerts, because they nailed every lyric on that fucking bizarre show. That shit was fire.
I would have loved to see that. Bizarre is just, it's a classic to me, man. I fucking love those two albums. But yeah, you're right. That performance, watching that shit, they killed that shit. Absolutely.
Yeah, the songs they selected was dope too, because it wasn't bizarre in full. It was going to be that in 2020. It was going to be one night of disc 1 and one night of disc 2. But this year, they combined them into a medley, and they actually played most of the songs I wanted to hear. So Take Me Away, especially, they barely ever play Take Me Away live. The only time they played it that I know of is on the fucking Bizarre tour. And then they finally played that shit on there, and then they closed with Crystal Ball. I was like, man, they opened with Take Me Away and closed with Crystal Ball. I'm good with whatever they play in the middle. It was also cool that they added like other songs from the Bizarre era. Like they played Take It, the WCW theme. They played $50 from the Pendulum comics and shit. So it was just like a mashup of all the 2000 songs. And the year 2000 was a damn good year for the clowns putting out music. So that show was fun.
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, I mean, Take Me Away is like, I fucking love that shit. Just take
so
me
weird
away.
They don't play it. That's like made for a concert. The chorus,
yeah,
they never play it.
Because it is kind of a more mellow type track for ICP. But I agree with you. It's definitely made for a crowd to fucking participate and all that shit. I would love to see that live. I mean, I'm sure like you said, they played it on Bizarre tour. I was at those shows. I went to a few of them. I don't specifically remember that song. It was fucking 21 years ago. It's hard to remember shit, but yeah, I'd love to see them perform that song. Fucking super dope.
One of the other things that really stuck out at the gathering for me was Ouija Mac closing down a night. Like that was like kind of his coronation of being the fucking next in line. Like that was the twisted spot, like closing down the gathering the night before fucking ICP, and to see that he was like so well supported there, that was pretty dope. He got that love because that dude hustles his ass off. I'm not the biggest fan of his music. I won't front or anything, but you can't say that dude ain't worked his ass off to get there. So it was cool to see that he made his way on the main stage and closed, because the year before that, well, in 2019, because they didn't have it in 2020, he was like on like a Thursday at like 7 p.m. It was weird. It was like this dude been hustling his ass off, and they put him on this weird ass spot that like Blase Rose should be at. But this year, man, they fucking had him closing down a fucking main stage, so that was dope.
Yeah, that Ouija Mac deserved that fucking spot, man. Like you said, it's the old twisted spot, but that's Ouija Mac's spot now. He fucking deserved that spot, and his show If you watch that shit on YouTube, he comes out in the fucking Tesla,
Yeah.
fucking super dope. Like his stage show, like you could tell he spent time putting that shit together with all the effects and shit that he had. Ouija Mac definitely deserves that spot. Ouija Mac, um, just one of my favorites. Actually, fuck that. My favorite in the Juggalo wicked shit underground scene right now. Like that dude is just so dope, kills it constantly, and well deserving of that uh, closing spot on the gathering like that. You know, headlining one of the nights at the gathering. Just super fucking fresh, man. I'm glad
Yeah,
you brought
that's
that up because I didn't have that in my notes.
that's usually reserved for like like I said, Twisted back in the day, a Tech Nine, somebody big like that. So for him to finally get there, that was pretty dope. For that, like I said, it's like his coronation. Like this motherfucker has arrived,
Yeah,
and the
he's
crowd was live for that fucking performance. It looked like there was more people in the crowd for that one than there was for ICP's closing set. And I know a lot of people left after the weekend and went to Astro because it was going on at the same time. People said like Thursday and Friday were the busiest nights of the gathering because people went to Astro after that because they'd already seen the clowns do Bizarre.
right.
And it seemed like he fucking had that fucking place packed for his performance. So it's cool to see him getting supported like that.
Fuck yeah,
Because that's the shit
very
that's going
dope.
to keep this shit going, man. Like ICP's fucking close to 50. They've got to be other people keeping this shit going or it's going to end with them.
Right? Yeah. And I feel like Ouija's that dude. He's doing a fucking damn good job at converting, previous juggalos onto his shit. Every time I've seen him live, a fucking crowd goes nuts for him. Every time I've seen him open up for ICP or Shaggy when he was when Shaggy was on his solo tour, people go nuts for his shit. It's dope to see.
I see that Chapter 17 logo everywhere, tattoos and fucking merch and shit. That's like the fucking Hatchet Man for the new Juggalo. Like I see as many tattoos of that as I do the Hatchet Man on the new era Juggalos.
Yeah, Ouija Mac represents fucking Juggalo, 17, all that shit. Heavy. He reps it so fucking hard in all his shit. He puts out so much music. He put out, let's see, he did a collab album with Baby E, who Baby E used to be signed to Lil Wayne at one point. He put out Dirtbag this year, Pretty Ugly 2 just recently. He had the mixtape that he dropped at the Gathering this year. And he dropped like 4 projects last year. A lot of people say they'd rather have quality over quantity, but when quality and quantity fucking meet together, it's crazy shit. You don't really see it that often. And in my opinion, this dude has the quality and quantity, like just putting out dope fucking shit. And he just went out on a headlining tour this year, just a couple months ago as well. Leading into the gathering as well. So, I mean, this dude's fucking killing it. And I love seeing it because I love his music. And it's just dope to see some new fucking faces,
The only person in the underground that I can recall right offhand that works as hard as Ouija did and since he's been signed to Psychopathic was Tech right after he had that fucking divorce and was putting out like 4 albums a year. Like that's the last time I've seen anybody work that hard. So yeah, dude definitely grinding his ass off to get where he is. So I can't hate on that.
For sure. Um, also at the gathering, the ICP seminar. That was a crazy fucking seminar, man. Violent J just came out and said, I ain't gonna fucking dick around. I got fucking heart failure. And it was like, oh shit, he's human. He's fucking human, and announced that they're going to be going on their farewell tour. But they'll still be doing shows, big ballers, gatherings, and shit like that. But how did you take that news? To me, that was like, oh, god damn.
Yeah, like you said, it just reminds you of that dude's human. Like he's Violent J. You don't look at him as a fucking human that would be having heart problems or any kind of problems. You just think of him as fucking Violent J. It's fucking wicked clown's never gonna die. And it was, like you said, it was just kind of like a slap in the face of reality. Like, this dude's fucking human. I think it would have probably been a pretty weird vibe at the gathering after that. Like I couldn't imagine being in the crowd and hearing that and then trying to cope with that being live right there. So yeah, I was pretty shocked by it.
And then seeing him perform on stage, like, oh shit, don't go too hard. Don't go too hard.
Yeah. Like it flipped. Like everybody went from like talking shit about Violent J and him missing lyrics and shit like that to everybody being worried about Violent J. It's like it totally flipped from that one sentence he put out at the seminar. Everybody went from talking shit about his performances and him missing fucking Patreon streams and shit like that, and then all of a sudden all the juggalos are like, "Shit, fucking be careful."
Right. Yeah. Right. And it
Yeah.
explains why he wasn't, now we have an explanation of why he was missing Patreon streams and shit like that. It was just crazy, man. It's easy to talk shit, but then when you get hit with some news like that, you're like, oh, maybe dial it back a little bit, because these people that we're sitting here talking about on just a YouTube video, these people are fucking people. Like, it was just crazy news from the gathering to hear, and hearing that there will be a farewell tour, quote unquote. Will it actually be a farewell tour? How many, we'll see. They still remain persistent even now, 5-6 months after the gathering, that they still talk about a farewell tour. So it's just great. I think back to, I didn't go to the Fearless Fred Fury tour. Fuck, I should have went. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
God damn it. Last time I saw them live was on the Great Malenko tour, which was almost 5 years ago at this point. So it's like, fuck, man, not going to be able to, they're clearly not touring like they used to, and they're not going to. So it's like, when they do come around now, it's like, I don't give a fuck if it's a fucking Wednesday night and I've been up since 4:30 a.m. I'm going to that show. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, because you almost took them for granted because they would be in town 3 times a year for the past 20 years. So if you miss one, fuck it, I'll just see you the next time, and that kind of made you realize like there might not be a next time. The other thing that like kind of plays into that, I was thinking while watching that was, man, I hope they fucking end up fucking squashing this beef between them and Twisted before anything happens to them to where they can't squash the beef because one of them's fucking dead. Because them dudes, man, like somebody our fucking age that grew up with it, man, those fucking 4 dudes is what made this whole fucking world. So for them to not be getting along and then see one of them is fucking having health problems, that's immediately what came to my mind. Is like, I hope they get fucking right before they can't.
Yeah, agreed. That was one of the first things I thought of too. Is like, fuck, man. Rude Boy even said that a while ago when this beef first popped up,
Yep.
and he went. Remember when he caught heat because he went to an Astronomicon, and he's like, "Look, I was invited. I brought my son, and I just wanted to have a good fucking time." And he even said, "He's like, look, we're fucking people here. Yeah, we're not getting along right now, but what if something happens? What if one of us isn't here no more? You have to live with that, being on bad terms with somebody who at one point you were close with."
Yeah, like damn near brothers.
Right. I would love to, I'd love to see it happen, but I mean, dissing is still happening at this very moment. So
Literally this very moment. The new video from ICP has like a sneak diss in it, in a song where they're talking about sneak disses being whack.
Right. It's like, so we're still dissing. Is what it is. We just got to wait it out. Back to Violent J saying, it's petty to not fucking get past your differences on that Cottonmouth Kings special. And, it's just, I don't know, man. Hopefully one day, time will heal it, and they can get back together before something does happen like that.
Doesn't seem like that's going to happen.
Not at the moment.
Just the other day was the anniversary of Twisted leaving. It's been like 9 years since they've been off the label. I think they left December 12th.
Oh wow!
So, and they're still beefing. So I don't know
Yeah.
if it'll ever happen, but I hope it does for their sake. I don't even care about the Dark Lotus tours and shit like that. I just want them dudes to be friends again, man. Because without them four, fucking neither of us or any of our homies would be sitting here. Like them dudes is what built this whole fucking world. So it sucks seeing them not get along.
It, I'd probably be lying to myself if I didn't say ICP and Twisted were my top two groups, just straight up. Like those dudes just fucking just, I found ICP within a year. I found Twisted, and it was just like my whole fucking life was just, it was different at that point because it was just like they, it's just they speak the pain for you. You know what I mean? It's just, and you realize that there's other people out there that are like you. You know what I mean? It's this whole fucking world that they brought to me specifically, where it was like, holy shit, they just changed everything for me.
And there was this whole mindset whenever like we jumped on in the eras we did that they were pushing themselves that you only listen to ICP. They even talk about that in Shockumentary. Once they find ICP, they only listen to ICP. So like it was twisted at ICP is all a lot of us listened to for 2-3 years until like the Juggalo scene started widening and you had like Cottonmouth Kings and Blaze and shit like that to listen to. But it was ICP at Twisted for a good steady fucking 2 years, just them running this shit. So it'd be cool to see them come back.
I listened to nothing but the first 5 Jokers cards and EPs and Most Tasteless for just that was it. And then when the reissue of Most Tasteless came out, like that's all I fucking listened to was ICP Twisted. And then Riders came out, like, okay, fucking bump that. Blaze came out. I was like, okay. Listen to Blaze now. It was just, yeah, that was all I fucking listened to for 3 years. Like you said,
Halloween
like
on Halloween 2000, fucking Bizarre, and Freak Show all comes out. So you got 3 albums to listen to. I didn't listen to nothing else besides those 3 albums for at least like 4 months.
yeah, it was a bizarre freak show straight up, just in the tape deck for me.
Had like 40 new tracks to listen to.
Right, it was crazy, man. And but yeah, hopefully they could fucking patch shit up at some point. So Violent J announced that he had heart failure at the gathering. A few months later, Violent J, it's news comes out. Violent J's in fucking rehab for a pill addiction. People always crack jokes and talk shit without any kind of real confirmation. I always made it a point to not really talk about shit like that or speculate on shit like that. I don't think that's really right. Just because, probably because I've been affected by that kind of shit in my real life. People, close to me going through addictions and shit like that. So I never thought it was cool to speculate or talk shit like this motherfucker's popping pills. Like I never thought that shit was cool. But when I found out he was in rehab, it was like, okay, this is a good thing right here. He does have a problem with pills, but he's taking care of it. Especially in light of the heart failure thing. Like we whether you fucking realize it or not, we need Violent J around, man. We do. And him taking care of himself like that is fucking super dope. And props to him for doing it.
It was almost kind of a relief because, like you said, he had said that he had the heart condition. And you think back to those Patreons where he's like slurring his words and falling asleep and shit. You're wondering if that's from the heart, if it's that serious in the heart problem. Because he said that one of the main things from the heart problem was like lack of energy. He just gets fatigued and shit. And it seemed like he was real fatigued on a lot of those shows. But whenever he said he was in rehab, it was almost kind of reassuring. Like, okay, it was the pills that were making him act like that. It wasn't the fucking heart problem. And the positive to come out of it is since Violent J's announced that, man, that dude has gotten in shape. You look back to that Patreon, like October 2020, whenever like they took a picture with Chris Hansen, and then you put a picture up there of Violent J today, man, that dude's lost like 100 pounds. So it's cool to see that motherfucker's in shape. I think he's the fucking skinny clown in ICP now.
He is.
He's smaller than Shaggy. So yeah, it's cool to see that he's taking it that serious, that he's fucking getting in shape.
Yeah, props to props to Violent J for doing that. For one, realizing that he might have a problem, and fixing it before it's too late. It's compounding pills with a heart problem can't be fucking good. I'm not a doctor, but can't be good.
Yeah, and while we're talking about that, Violent J, lay off that fucking Red Bull, man.
Oh man,
why are you sipping that Red Bull with heart problems, dog?
I can't handle caffeine and I don't have heart problems. Fuck that.
Get you some Fago. Get you some Fago, man. That's caffeine free.
Right. True. But yeah, I thought that was good news. When that was announced that he was in rehab. And
one of the parts that stood out to me when he was telling that story is how he was said that he ended up in the hospital because he took Suboxone, and instead of letting it fucking melt on his tongue like you're supposed to, he just figured he'd chew it up with some Starburst.
Like, what the fuck, dude?
There's obviously a reason they tell you to let that shit dissolve on your tongue, man. You can't just chomp them down with some Starburst. And he was baffled; it didn't work.
Leave it to Jay to do some shit like that.
That should have me roll it.
Yeah, dude. But when it was announced that he was in rehab, we were entering the new era, the fifth Joker's card of the second deck, Yum Bedlam. It was like a month before. I kind of considered him coming out as going to rehab as part of like the Yum Bedlam rollout, because that's headlines right there. You know what I mean?
Part of the promo.
Right. That's headlines. Violent J in rehab. And then they dropped Wretched on us, the first official single of Yum Bedlam with the video. Single was fucking fire. Violent J sounded really, really dope on it. The video was good as well, and it got me hyped for Yum Bedlam. What'd you think of that? Like, and I've said this before. I've been on record before saying usually I haven't been a fan of singles for the albums that they're putting out. Like they put out WTF for Fearless Fred. I was like, it's okay. I want to hear it within the album, but nothing special. And then, previously, whatever singles that they had released before that. But this one, I was like, oh, wow, this is fucking dope. I hope this isn't the best song on the album. But I kind of had that worry because it's like, I haven't had a single that I've liked, in recent memory before an album. What did you think of, Wretched when it first dropped?
Pretty much the same thing. Like, damn, this is a pretty fuck good first single. Because I think about to like Another Love Song being picked off Jekyll Brothers. Like any other song on that album would have been a better first single than fucking Another Love Song. So they're not the best at picking singles. They put Crispin Wall out first from Mighty Def Pop, and there's so many other good songs on that album. I mean, Crispin Wall's a good song. It's not a single, but as soon as you heard that, it was a single. That's a song that makes you want to go buy that album. My homie fucking Luke from JokerzGallery, man, he was totally off the fucking Yum train whenever he heard Lure. He hated it so bad. But as soon as he heard Wretched, he ordered that fucking CD. And that's what a fucking single's supposed to do. And it did it. Yeah. So it was a good fucking pick from ICP. The other thing from that song is Mikey Clark said that he wants to hear fucking Shaggy's verse. So apparently Shaggy had a verse for the song that got cut. I'm guessing maybe because he wasn't able to make the video shoot is the only thing I could think of, because Jay was in LA doing his rehab. So maybe Shaggy couldn't make it to the video and they just cut Shaggy's part. But I'd like to hear Shaggy's fucking part on if it comes out with like a fucking Yum Bedlam Nuclear Edition. Let me hear that Shaggy verse.
Yeah. That would be dope. How Mike Clark knew that information, I don't know. He had no production on the album. They did say Mikey Clark was going to have production on Yum Bedlam, but turned out he didn't. But yeah, I would like to hear that too, because Shaggy's been killing it, and as of the last handful of years in particular, just being murderous on tracks and shit. But Yum Bedlam finally came out. I know we're going to have different opinions on this, but man, Wretched was such a dope single. I listened to the album. I was like, wow, they did release the best song as the single. Like, that song was easily, in my opinion, my favorite song off Yum Bedlam. And I still just as a couple of weeks ago, I still go back to Yum Bedlam and try. I listen to it and it's difficult to get through for me just because it doesn't hit for me. And is disappointing because I thought Fearless Fred Fury, we were going back in a good direction, but it's it seems the majority of people dig the album, and I'm pretty sure you do too, right?
Yeah, I give it like a 7 out of 10. I mean, I think other than Marvelous Missing Link, it's the weakest of the Joker Card albums. But the next one up after that is like Fearless Fred Fury or Bang Pow Boom. So I mean, you got to be really good to get past those. There's a lot of Violent J on it. Like my biggest complaint is there's not enough Shaggy. I think that is one of the reasons that the album doesn't hit as well. Like, where's that Shaggy solo we usually get on a fucking Joker's card? And it's really long compared to the albums that most of us listen to now. Things like 75 minutes or something like that. You got a couple songs that are 6 minutes plus. It's just a really long album. And a lot of the subject matter isn't necessarily the most upbeat or anything. I know people say they don't like it because it's not about the wicked shit. It's not like traditional wicked shit. It's not like I'm stabbing fucking people and shit like that. It's more like a self misery from like the grunge era. It's almost like fucking relationship problems, fucking drug problems. It's more of the wicked shit is like self-hatred in this fucking album, so it doesn't really stand out. But there's some really good tracks on the album, man. Like Here Comes the Carnival's one that I immediately liked. I think that was my most binged song whenever they did Wrapped on Spotify. I think I'd played that thing 43 times already, so I was listening the fuck out of that one. There's just not a lot of cohesiveness in the album. I would say it's just all over the place. There's like rock songs, you got the random appearance from Richard Cheese, you got multi producers, so it's just not cohesive. Like past Joker cards, it was Mikey Clark, Violent J, and Shaggy working in a room together, so it was cohesive. This doesn't have the cohesiveness. There's good songs, but there's just not a cohesive feel to the album that makes you want to listen to the entire thing front to back like most Joker cards are for me.
Yeah, the rock songs on this album really threw me off because I it's a style of rock music that I wouldn't fucking listen to anyway, and I just wasn't feeling the rock style fucking kind of songs, kind of mainstream sounding type shit.
It
Those
kind of sounded like some like B-rate Buck Cherry, like somebody trying to sound like Buck
Yeah.
Cherry was what that dude from Spun sounded like. That's what I was getting. Is just shitty fucking radio rock.
Yeah, I just wasn't a fan of it. I was really disappointed by the album. Um, I still think it's the best looking Joker's card of the second deck. I fucking love Yum Bedlam. The look, super dope. Um, I know people had complaints with producer tags. I normally don't give a fuck about producer tags. They're in music now, is what it is. Producers are putting their tags on beats. I don't give a fuck about producer tags, but I hold ICP to a different standard. So on a Joker's card, I don't think they necessarily belong on a Joker's card. Maybe on like an EP or a Forgotten Freshness, some shit like that, but not on a Joker's card.
And
What?
I heard a lot of people saying that the people that didn't like it don't listen to new rap music because it happens all the time in new rap music, which is true. But also something they're missing there is people that listened to rap back in the day used to get those producer tags whenever you didn't pay enough for the beat for the producer to take his fucking name off the beat. So it makes old school fucking hip hop heads make it sounds cheap. It's like cheapens the experience. I don't give a fuck about the producer tags. Didn't affect me one way or the other, but I could see why people heard it and then thinks that it makes it sound cheap because back in the day, if you didn't pay enough to the fucking producer, he would just leave his fucking tag on it. So it was a way to get a beat cheaper. So it makes it sound cheapened to some people.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't normally give a fuck about a producer tag, but then again, if I like the album, I probably wouldn't fucking have said anything about the producer tags, but I was fucking picking it apart as I did because I wasn't enjoying the album, and there was just an added complaint that I had to it. Um, I know some people had a problem with the intro. I thought the intro was a little awkward, but it fits with the theme of Yum Bedlam. You know, the meaning of Yum Bedlam.
I thought it sounded like the voice actor got recorded the first time she ever read it. It sounded really poorly done as far as the vocal work. Like it sounded like they were just reading it. It didn't sound like they were actually saying the shit. It just sounded really
Right.
cheaply made.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of awkward. I think you said it was awkward whenever you reviewed it. It was definitely
Yeah.
awkward. I didn't dig it that much. And you were talking about Yum Yum, how you like the actual logo. I I can't say the logo's ugly, but I don't like that Shaggy didn't draw it.
Yeah. Shaggy didn't do Fearless Fred either.
I thought he said he did that one. He
Did
didn't
he?
do the. I think he said he didn't do the cityscape that's below it, but he drew the actual character.
Oh, okay. All right.
But
Because
but
I thought I had heard Tom Wood had his hand in Fearless Fred.
I think Shaggy said that the part that he didn't draw on Fearless Fred was the like cityscape that he was coming out of. But to not have Shaggy draw a Joker card is just really weird to me. That's like having somebody not named Jerry Cantrell playing riffs on an Alice in Chains album. Like Shaggy's always drawing them, so I didn't like that part for sure.
Yeah. I don't think that really bothered me. Probably because I just liked the way it looked so much. And then
Yeah,
hearing
I
that
mean,
Shaggy.
I don't think it's ugly or anything. I think Tom Wood schooled it, but I just don't like that Shaggy didn't draw it.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, but yeah, that's we're in the Yum Bedlam era right now. And it's weird because usually when they drop an album, there's a fucking tour happening. Ain't no fucking tour happening as far as we could tell. I mean, I know they're talking about going to Europe, Australia, and Canada next year. So, and then the United States in 2023. So we have to wait for them to fucking. We might get another Joker's card by the time they fucking go on their farewell tour.
I was gonna say, hearing all those dates that they plan on doing, all the live shit, I'm wondering if we're gonna get a Joker card before that. If we have to wait 4 years for another Joker card, that third deck's looking less and less likely every day.
We did get Yum Bedlam pretty quick after Fearless Fred. It was what, 2.5 years,
Yeah.
something like that. So, kind of on pace to like what the first 6 was. It was like roughly every 2 years with the first 6. We did wait it was 4 years, right, for Fearless Fred.
Yep.
So yeah, we waited a long ass fucking time for that card.
The original Joker cards, the OG6, took 10 years to complete the deck, and they're 12 years into this one and still got the 6th card to go. So they're not going as fast as they did for the OG one. So
No.
I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna get that third deck out or not. I don't really want to hear 65-year-old clowns rapping.
Why not, man? But like they did make the point of now that they're not touring, it gives them chance to record more music. So maybe we'll get Joker cards at a faster rate.
And apparently the 6 for the second deck is going to be Shangri-La and Hell's Pit again. So it's not like they're going to have to really think of a concept or anything. Hopefully they can just jump into it.
Yeah, which will be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I don't like that idea.
Nah, you can't recreate shit. I don't like that. I don't like when people come out with part 2s to like Eminem came out with Marshall Mathers part 2. It's like, don't do that to yourself, dude. You're just setting yourself up for failure doing shit like that.
And the Marvelous Missing Link were basically those theories. Like it was almost the Wraith and Hell's Pit with Marvelous Missing Links. The only way that I would be hyped for the 6 Jokers card to be the Wraith and Hell's Pit again is if Mikey Clark gets to do this one, because he didn't get to do the first one. That would be interesting. I'd be into that.
Absolutely. I always say bring Mikey Clark back, and there's people that say you're only saying that because it's the quick fix. Well, yeah, it is the quick fix. It is the quick fix. They haven't missed yet. They haven't missed. So why the fuck wouldn't I want Mikey Clark back? Like, it just makes sense.
And I mean, even ICP said on that Patreon I think they did. I think they said it during the seminar that they aired on the Patreon, not the one on the Gathering, but the one that was on their stream. That they tried to get Mikey Clark to produce, and he just said he wasn't into it. So I
Yeah.
mean, they want Mikey Clark, so it's just more on Mikey Clark wanting to put his hat into that production again and commit to something that big.
Yeah. But, speaking of Mikey Clark, right? And him not wanting to produce, he's producing the next Zool record.
Fuck yeah, he is.
Zool's one of those groups, or Zool is that group, much like Ouija Mac. They're fucking next up. They're the next ones up. And they're fucking killing it. They represent like the true wicked shit, like true horrorcore wicked shit. And to hear them being in the studio with Mikey Clark, it's gonna be interesting because they dropped Necronomicon 2 this year, which in my opinion was a step in the right direction compared to Mausoleum. I know you love Mausoleum, and the
And
majority of
pretty much
people,
everybody else does.
everybody loves Mausoleum. It didn't, I didn't connect with it for whatever reason. Necronomicon 2 was a step in the right direction. Not much replay value with Necronomicon 2, but there's some good songs on there, and I like the way it sounded. Knowing that they're working with Mikey Clark, I don't have any expectations for this album. Whereas when they dropped The Almighty, they're just on that boom bap shit, that raw wicked shit, boom bap. And then Mausoleum came out, and it really wasn't boom bap. I think the only track on there that really was Mask Made Me Do It, if I'm remembering right. Like that, and that was co-produced by Zombie Aristocrats.
Zombie Aristocrats did one of them, I know.
I think it was Mask Made Me Do It. But like the fuck am I trying to say here? When they announced they were working with Dave Slasher, yeah, I didn't know what to expect, but I didn't think that they would stray so far from the almighty sound that they had been kind of working on and perfecting from Head of Horns to Psycho, the first Necronomicon, and then they even continued with it with Church of Zool. Mausoleum to me was just so different sounding. It threw me off, I probably set myself up to be disappointed because I wanted another Almighty, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So them working with Mikey Clark, I don't know what to expect. And I know it's going to be different. Mikey Clark isn't known for the boom bap shit. So I'm pretty sure going into this to not expect some boom bap shit. But I am excited because it's Mikey Clark. Like we were just talking about how he produces for ICP. They never miss. They put out so much classic shit. It's been a minute since we heard from Mikey Clark too. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I marked out as soon as I seen that picture. I know they had put up the picture without the face of the fourth person earlier. So they've been working for a little while because that picture came out way before they showed that it was actually Mikey Clark. So they've been putting in work for a while. I know they haven't announced the release date for the album or anything, but I'm really interested to see. The only song that I've heard from them so far that I could see the Mikey Clark stuff sounding like is Zooligans. Like that one kind of sounds like a Mikey Clark style beat, more upbeat, more up tempo, weird fucking sound, and not a traditional like rap boom bap sound. So that's the only thing I've got any kind of like expectations drawn on. Is I think we might hear a couple songs that sound kind of like Zooligans. But I'm looking forward to it. I think those dudes, they grew up listening to Mikey Clark. This is one of their fucking bucket lists is to fucking work on an album with Mikey Clark. So they're going to bring their best. It's like whenever Violent J works with Esham, he always tries to bring his best to impress his fucking idol. So Zool's going to bring it, trying to impress one of their fucking idols that they grew up listening to.
I bet on their bucket list was a song with Mikey Clark, and now they're doing a fucking album with him. I'm hyped for it, man. Mikey Clark's that fucking dude. He's known mostly for working with ICP, but Project Deadman. I love that album. Like that album's fucking fire. The work that he's done with Twisted, Um, Mikey Clark's shit, and working with Zool is is getting me hype again, because I kind of lost it with the last couple of releases, just because it's, just wasn't feeling it or whatever. And but yeah, man, I'm really glad to see Mikey Clark back. He's actually dropping singles. He just dropped a single. Someone, I forget who's featured on it, but someone's singing on it. Sounds good. Like, the production on it's fucking dope. So I'm curious to see what kind of sound he's gonna cook up for Zool, and what they're gonna bring together. And the thing I like about it seems like they're working in studio with each other too. Like Zool said, we're for the first time we're working in a professional studio.
So I'm wondering if they're making trips to like the fun house, or is he making trips to Ohio, or how they're doing that. Either or, I'm just happy to see it. I think Zool and LLE, everything they're doing is reminds me of Psychopathic in '98 when I first jumped on. Like, everything they do is exciting. They break out the fucking news about Mikey Clark. They're doing the fucking Camp Zool thing. They're bringing out new groups. Super famous Fun Time guys brought them out this year. They're my favorite group of the year by far. My favorite album that came out this year was "Don't Hug Me from the Front," and I just get them vibes from them dudes, man. They grew up being juggalos, and they know what juggalos want, and they know how to fucking treat the fans. And so far, man, Zool ain't had a miss with me. Like, everything they do is magical. So the energy I get from them and LLE, it's just fucking 1998 Psychopathic to me. Just putting out pure fire and always keeping shit exciting. Like, we kind of know what ICP and Twisted are at this point, and that's not saying that ICP and Twisted are like slacking. We fucking been following them for 20 plus years. We know what we're getting. With Zool, man, you still get them fucking surprises. Like, all of a sudden Mikey Clark's fucking working with them, and you just get hype. Like, seeing somebody with like an LLE fucking jersey on or something, or a Zool hoodie, that's like seeing a juggalo back in the day. Like, today you might see somebody rocking an ICP shirt that just doesn't even know like the first 6 cards. They just fucking like the design on it because they're that big. They've blown up, and rightfully good for them. They're doing so. But you see somebody wearing that fucking LLE logo, man, you know that they're fucking underground. They're down with shit, and they went out of their way to find that. So their shit just reminds me of Psychopathic in '98 right now. So I'm mad thankful that LLE is around and running shit like they are in the underground.
I can't deny that they're fucking killing it, because they absolutely are right now, and they've been killing it with all the merch drops, the mask drops. The fact that they could sell all these fucking masks every single time. It's a different design every time, but there's so many fucking masks, man, that they put out. It's like it was originally the Forever Face. Now we got a Friday the 13th. We got a Dawn of the Dead. We got a fucking Jovid. We got, I don't even know, the Dweller or some
the
shit.
Dweller,
like,
yeah.
There's so many different variations now, and it's fucking crazy.
And they all look cool. For some reason, any fucking design you put on that Forever Face looks dope. Like, they could paint it any fucking color. It looks fucking dope. Like, Bill's got that one that's painted up like Skeletor. That shit is badass, man. You think you just hear it, you know, you hear somebody paint it Forever Face like Skeletor. You think it'd be kind of lame looking, but now, man, that fucking shit looks like an evil fucking Skeletor. Those masks just blew up in 2020 when people had those fucking checks from the government and just sitting on money, man. Them fucking Forever Faces went from $100 on the fucking website whenever you bomb directly from Zool to $200 to $400 on the fucking second hand market. So those things blew the fuck up in the past year.
Yep. It's fucking crazy, and they sell out every time. It's super dope to see. Love seeing a group like them come up and just kill it like they do, man. It's dope, and it's good for the scene, because without dudes like Zool, Ouija Mac, it's just gonna die out when fucking ICP and Twisted are done. Like, if there's nobody to follow it and they're done, that's it.
That's why I was so hyped to find Super Famous. I don't find a lot of music in this scene I like. Like, ICP and Twisted were the only ones I really fucked with. Like, I'd listen to Blaze occasionally. I didn't even really fuck with Dark Lotus that much. Like, I just always listened to ICP and Twisted because I felt like I wanted to listen to ICP and Twisted more while I go find other groups. But since LLE came out, man, Zool, they've jumped into my fucking group that I'm gonna listen to at least once a week, and then Super Famous as well. And I needed that. Like, I hadn't found anybody since fucking Twisted came out in 1998 that I'd connected to like I did LLE. So I'm glad that they fucking bring that fire. And we talked about the masks, also their merch. They got 8legs designing all their merch now, so every fucking piece of merch they put out is fucking fire. So they've got it on lock right now. I'm really interested to see what they're gonna do in this upcoming year with the album of Mikey Clark coming out. You got Camp Zool 2, you got fucking Super Famous keeps building and building. I know at the beginning of the year, uh, whenever they first came out, Positive, they're one of their bigger songs. The video had like 15,000 views or whatever, and in this year it's already blown up to like 45,000. So they've picked up like 3 times the amount of fans. I think they've really caught on fire this year. So I'm glad to see some young blood that's making good music, because whatever I hear is Super Famous, I hear fucking ICP from like 1994. Like, just classic. They play off each other so well. You got Whip with the crazy voice like Shaggy had, and then you got Legs who flows like a motherfucker, and he's playing like the Violent J-Ro. They even got a fucking they just released their CD that got canceled. They were making like a horrorcore CD before they got signed with LLE, but decided not to put it out because they didn't want to sound like an Axe knockoff. But they ended up putting it out now, and it's got a cover of an ICP song, Every Day I Die, and that fucking thing is fire, man. Like, you got fucking Whipstick, the too much time on my head. Like, he sounds like fucking the old school Shaggy voice, man. It's fucking dope.
That's dope. I'm not the biggest fan, but I'm glad that you're finding new music, because you've always said to me, how the fuck do you listen to so much music? How do you care about all these other people like that?
Straight
You
up.
always said like you got your artists you listen to, and that's it.
Yep.
And I'm glad that you're finding new artists to listen to.
That was dope, man. They came on the scene with that Brainless video that featured Billy Obey. As soon as I seen that, I was like, fuck, how have I never heard of these guys? Fucking Legs is fucking verse in that fucking his second part, whenever him and Legs or him and Whip are trading up on the verse in that third fucking verse, man, he just goes another level that I've heard in fucking this scene in a really long time. So I went and listened to Positive, and you listen to Brainless and you listen to Positive, and they're 2 totally different fucking songs. And if they can do that, like, think of all the other shit they can fit in between there. So I was immediately like down to listen to their whole discography, got in their whole discography, and still listen to it today.
Oh yeah, super dope. Yeah, we need these groups to come up, make noise. Even if you're not a fan, if they're making noise, they're gonna help keep the fucking scene alive, 100%.
I think a dude that we haven't mentioned yet that really fucking worked his ass off to help keep this scene alive, and we ain't mentioned him yet, it's Buckshot.
It's on my list, so let's talk about it. Buckshot. I'm gonna call him the executive producer of the year of 2021. This dude fucking killed it. He dropped Double Dragon with Kung Fu Vampire. He dropped Cabal, a group with him, Low Key, Mr. Gray. He dropped another Hell's Kitchen project with him and Boondocks. He dropped Night of the Zombie EP. Mob Style Christmas just came out. And this dude, much like Zool, drops fucking dope merch, quality merch. You know you're getting quality shit when it's coming from Buckshot. And you're right. He's another dude helping keeping this scene alive. 100%. Dude's just fucking killing it, man. Like I've said before, go back to early episodes of this podcast. I'm not a fan of Buckshot. Don't like, not a fan, whatever. But for whatever, I especially love his collaboration projects, especially Double Dragon and Cabal. Like those 2 albums that dropped this year, man. Like Wicked Shit in particular, that Cabal project was fucking fire. And to see him like reach out and show love to dudes like Mr. Gray and Low Key was fucking dope. I mean, I know, Low Key, I've been listening to Low Key for shit almost 20 years. It's been a long ass time. Mr. Gray, more recent for me, but yeah, Buckshot absolutely killing it.
And you talked about the merch. he always goes out of his way to keep people updated on it too. If it's delayed or something, he'll like get on fucking social media and he almost apologized for it being a day or two late. And I'm reading it thinking like, man, if there's one fucking person in the underground that I'm trusted with my money, it's you, Buck. So no, you ain't gotta fucking sweat that shit. I think you got a pretty good record to where you're gonna fucking supply what anybody pays for. And that merch game that Mob Style has, man, those jerseys he put out with those fucking collabs, that fucking box that you got, the fucking pyramid for the Cabal, man, that's another level shit. And I think he really went out of his way to keep the underground moving. You talked about him getting he like is exposing these artists to other people. Like, I'm sure a lot of people hadn't heard of Mr. Gray or even Low Key until they heard that fucking album. Then they heard that album, and all of a sudden they're a fan of all three of them dudes. So, shout out to Buckshot, man. He grinded his ass off this year and improved his game. You talked about, like, you was talking about how back in the day you'd think about Buckshot and you're like, I don't really care much for his music, man. He stepped his shit up. We always talk about Monoxide leveling up. Buck's leveled up in the last few years as well.
100%. Another project that I forgot that he helped put out was the Attack of the Ninjas album.
Yep.
That was released at the Attack of the Ninjas show. That was a fucking fire project to get all those artists to submit and like figure out who would sound good on a song with each other. Like Buckshot knows what he's doing. He's got the ear for dope shit. And yeah, the quality of the merch, like I got that box set, the Cabal box set. The box is fucking fire. The shit that came with it, it was a coin, like the illest coin I've seen. You know, Strange Music has put out coins, ICP puts out coins, Twisted puts out coins. This is easily the illest coin out of anybody that's put out a fucking coin. It's so dope. And then the jerseys, you know, it's like the what do you call it? Embroidered shit. So it's like super high quality, like back in the day. I haven't bought a jersey in fucking shit, probably 20 years. It's been a long ass time. I'm not a big jersey guy. But yeah, this dude fucking kills it. I'm glad we're talking about him because he deserves the recognition, man. He really does. And his shit, it's getting bigger. Like you see him put some shit up for pre-order, it's selling out a lot faster with each release that he's doing, which is dope to see. He even put out Turncoat Dirty's album. That was a collaboration with Mob Style and M&E.
It's cool to see him coming up, like you're talking about. He's just a dude who's been in the scene forever, and I've never heard anybody say a bad word about him. Like he would trade fucking music with people and shit. I always heard people say like he would hook them up with really good fucking deals, like like other horrorcore fucking bands. Like he'd have like a fucking vault of shit that he had fucking built up, and he'd fucking hook other juggalos up with shit they didn't have. And he would go to the gathering, fucking he went to the fucking march, paid for it himself, went to the march, ended up performing for free, paid his own travel there and shit, and now he can't perform at the gathering because he works with M&E. So it's dope that even though he got his legs cut out from under him on the psychopathic side, that he's still fucking rising above.
Which is fucking wrong. That's just wrong. He's literally the only non-psychopathic artist that showed up to the march. And they had, remember that fucking list they put out? They put out a big ass list.
Yep.
And he was the only one to show up on his own dime. And now he can't perform at a gathering because of an affiliation. That's fucked. That's fucked up.
Yeah, that's one of the things that is hurting the underground. Talking about all the good things that like Zool and Buckshot's doing for the underground. That type of shit's what is the shit that's trying to bring the underground down and end it with ICP. Like they wanted, even Buckshot put out a fucking tweet earlier this year talking about how the scene's gonna die if people don't fucking change their attitudes and shit. And that type of shit, and not letting somebody like Buckshot has been so fucking cool to you not perform at the gathering just because he's fucking released a fucking collab album on M&E. That would be like not letting ICP fucking be on your show because you didn't like that they were signed to Disney back in the day. Like they had nothing to do with fucking Disney.
Right.
Just stupid shit. I hate that type of shit that's going on in the underground for sure.
I agree. It's just dumb shit like that. Fucking yeah. But shout out to Buckshot. Like I said, executive. I have it right here on my notes. Buckshot in parentheses, executive producer of the year, and then all the shit that he put out. So shout out to him for fucking killing it in 21. He did put up a tweet a few weeks back saying he's going to slow it down for 2022. I'm calling a bluff on that shit. I bet he's going to go just as hard as he did this year. But shout out to Buckshot, man. Just killed it this
And
year.
good luck on his knee surgery. I know he's going through some knee surgery. Motherfuckers out there performing with like a torn fucking knee for these motherfuckers. Still going hard. Still doing the fucking mob style Christmas with a fucking torn knee. So yeah, shout out to Buck, man. He went hard this year.
Yes, sir. Yeah, get well, heal up on that knee surgery for sure.
Don't buck slap anybody, because I know he was tweeting last night that he was having some complications. Like they were trying to say he wasn't going to get his surgery when they told him to because his insurance didn't send the picture. So somebody might have caught a buck slap in that fucking office.
Feel bad for him too. But I guess speaking of M&E, Twisted had a pretty fucking busy year this year, coming off of a pretty busy 2020. They dropped a bunch of projects last year, and they followed it up this year with a bunch of projects. And first project they released this year was Electric Lettuce, a little 420 EP. It ended up only being like 4 or 5 songs with a few interludes and skits and shit. I thought it was a fucking dope release, especially for like some 420 shit. I thought it was really dope.
Yeah, that was a dope album or an EP to put out, just to kind of give like the rap fans of Twisted something to have this year, because the rest of it was mainly rock they were going to put out. So it was cool they put out a traditional sounding Twisted EP, even though it was only 4 or 5 tracks, like you said. Still cool that they put it out for the fans of, like, you know, a lot of people are going to listen to Unlikely Prescription, say this ain't Most Tasteless, this ain't my right. Twisted. So they at least gave you a little bit of old school Twisted rap flavor with that little EP.
Yeah, it honestly, Electric Lettuce sounded like what that EP sounded like to me was Monoxide had started a project and said fuck it, and then Madrox hopped on a few songs, because it was Monoxide on, you know, there were songs where he'd have 2 verses and the hook, you know, so it kind of felt like that. I don't know.
He was talking about that album a lot during his bacon brunch or whatever he calls them too, like this live stream. So he definitely had, I say it was probably his majority control of that project.
Yeah, it was dope. And then they followed up Electric Lettuce with group project. Blaze and ABK joined them for Eastside Ninjas. They had dropped at the beginning of the year I guess you could call it title track, ESN, which was fucking fire. So we got the Eastside Ninjas project. I wasn't really feeling it. Felt just kind of just thrown together, if you will. And it kind of picked up where Triple Threat left off, which was another album that they had hyped for so long. And then when it came out, it was like, it's okay. It's not bad. It's just okay, you know? And that's how it kind of felt about Eastside Ninjas.
Yeah, Triple Threat and ESN both sounded like they had a spare weekend to record an album and did it. Like there was, I mean, it just sounded like they got together on a weekend and finished that album in 2 days. Probably wrote the parts separate and shit. The side projects that Twisted do, I don't really feel, you can tell that they just write their own lyrics apart. And even hearing how some of this V5 shit's going, like that's what they're trying to do with that. So that's why the big hold up is with V5s, because fucking Zool wants to do that shit together. And fucking Twisted, the way they do side projects now, and the way, and pretty much I guess the reason I don't really feel a lot of them is it's just fucking thrown together bullshit.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not work together. It's not work together. It's just them fucking writing a rap and going and rapping, and it's not fucking cohesive with the other one. It's like, you go fucking make the hottest 16 you can, and I'll do that, or 8 or whatever you're doing with the song if you're doing ESN. And it just sounds like a free weekend. Sounds like they had a weekend where all of them were off and not touring. They're like, let's put an album out. That's what fucking every side project that Twisted's put out since they went to M&E sounds like to me.
Yeah, I think you're not wrong in that assessment. You know, thinking back on the side project, you know, Triple Threat album, the V5 shit we've got so far has been okay. Like it came out really hot with Venomous on Almighty, like that shit was banging. And then Strike was okay, and then the 2 tracks that we got on Songs of Sam Hain this year were just okay. I thought it was cool that they brought ABK into the fold. I felt like ABK was just kind of getting left in the dust, you know? And even he dropped I forget what it was. He dropped a project, and it was he on the intro, it was like, yo, let's go get this bag. And the dude he was talking to was like, hold on a second. He's like, fuck you, snooze, you lose. And that was me kind of being like, him saying, like, I'm just, because everybody was wondering what was his deal with Psychopathic. And it's kind of like, fuck waiting. Let's just go get this money real quick. You know what I mean? And I mean, he's been Twisted and Blaze for since before Psychopathic and ICP and all that shit. So it only makes sense. So it was dope to see Twisted bring him into the fold. You know, Blaze is another dude who just stays busy. You know,
I liked
it. Dope.
I liked his collab album with Oh the Horror better than I liked the SN album, just because it was so different.
That project that Blaze and Oh the Horror did, I kind of slept on it at first because I think Tech Nine dropped his album right around that time, and I was heavily bumping that album. But that Blaze and Oh the Horror EP is fucking dope.
Really I really dug it. Yeah, I didn't listen to it. I didn't listen to it probably for a month or two. Like, it didn't even really get much pub whenever it came out. I just seen, I think Blaze mentioned it, and I was like, well, that's interesting. I'm gonna see what it sounds like. And I dug probably, I don't know, 80% of the album.
Yeah, it was solid EP that they put out, and that one kind of got swept under the radar. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that was a dope EP. So yeah, they had that project, just okay, and then the big album that they dropped this year, which they've been hyping since last year. It was originally supposed to drop last year, but I think that they really wanted to take this as big as they possibly could, so they took more time with it, and that's Unlikely Prescription. And the singles leading up, I mean, shit, we got damn near half the album before the album even came out with all the singles. You know, that's one thing M&E does, is release half the album before it comes out. Some of the singles were good. I really liked Rose Petal a lot. You know, that was kind of more traditional rock Twisted, like kind of like we've heard rock Twisted before, and it was kind of, you know, it reminded me of shit that I don't want to say shit that they've done before, but it wasn't too different from what they've done before.
It was more album, it sounded more freak show rock than like Generation Twisted rock.
Yes. And then the album came out. I saw a lot of love for it, but is another album that I just not feeling like pretty much at all. There's like 3 songs on there that I like. I don't think I've ever seen you talk about Unlikely Prescription, but they really did embrace going for that radio rock sound and going, like, they wanted to put out a rock album. This is a fucking rock album, no doubt about it. But I don't know, it just didn't land with me.
When it came out and I first pressed play, I was thinking to myself, I'm gonna have to force myself to listen to this album because I don't like modern fucking rock. That's just not my shit. But then I listened to it, and it reminded me a lot more of like Orgy and fucking Power Man 5000 and like new metal from the early 2000s than it did like fucking Warped Tour from 2020. So I was pleasantly surprised of how good it was. There's probably 6 songs I fuck with real heavy. I really like Envy. I think they even got like 1 million views on that video. So a lot of people really dug that song. The song with Danny Filth, I really like that one. There's quite a few songs on there that are really good. But there's also, you know, probably 4 or 5 songs that I'm gonna skip whenever I hear it. It wasn't one that I'm just gonna listen to all the way through. But for what they were going for, man, I think that's the best sounding rock, most official sounding rock they've ever had. Whether I like the style or not, but the style, the songs that were in the style of rock that I liked, I really fucking like. Like Envy, Twist and Shatter is my favorite song on there. That song's super fucking dope, and that reminded me more of like a new metal song whenever I heard it. So the ones that have that new metal sound, I really dug. The ones that kind of sound like shit that would be on the radio today, I didn't like, but I can't say they sound bad. If you like that style of music, you probably really like those songs because they sound like they're done really well.
Yeah, I think that's why I say it doesn't land with me instead of just saying it's bad. I think you'd have to have a general consensus from people to determine if it's bad. But yeah, Twist and Shatter. Why that wasn't a fucking single? That song is that's the best. I don't know. I think I still like Rose Petal better, but Twisted Shatter is fire. Fucking so good.
I think they saved that one so whenever you press play on that album, you got that shit and you were kind of into it. Because I know I was surprised by it. Whenever I heard that song, they put it right at the top of the album. So it was like one of those that they're like, we know this shit is fire. We're going to save it, not let anybody hear it. And then whenever they press play thinking this album's not going to be good, this is going to hit them in the face.
That song was fire. I do remember being in my car, that song played. I was like, yeah, we're just gonna bring that one back before we continue with the album. Because it was just so good. I was like, okay, all right. But I don't think you're wrong. And like for the style that they went with, 100% like the best sounding rock shit that they put out. Like I know Draven helped out with production on the album, and yeah, it sounded good in the sense compared to the other rock shit. Like this is just the best sound of rock shit. I don't know. I keep repeating myself, but
Sounds more
yeah,
authentic. It sounds more authentic rock than like Mutant, where it sounded like rappers trying to make a rock album. This sounded like a fucking rock album. It did sound like rappers making a rock album. It sounded like a rock album.
yeah, 100%. I did find it funny, listening to the album. I remember Monoxide saying, "There's zero rapping on the album. There's no rapping. There's a bunch of rapping on the
There's
album."
bad rapping on the album. Like he was saying that as Rose Petal was out.
Right. I'm like, dude, there's rapping on the fucking. But regardless, it was produced very well, and they said that they're working with Zeus, the dude who I believe mixed and mastered the album. He did produce one or two of the songs, and he's produced shit for Rob Zombie. So it doesn't look like they're leaving the rock arena yet.
And I think the success of the album probably tells you they're not going to leave that either. I think that was the highest selling album of anybody we're going to talk about on the show today that we're reviewing. That album sold really fucking well. And like I said, the video with the dude from Ice Nine Kills, it's got over 1 million views. So it was really well received. They were getting a lot of radio play, winning a lot of those radio contests where people would vote. They would play like 2 new tracks and you'd vote. Like they were getting a lot of love. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them put out another rock album, but I think they'll do the same thing that they did this year, to where they'll also put out a rap album, some kind of side project or EP or something like that. Maybe a House of Crazies EP or something, just to keep the old school rap fans happy. Because I mean, like, I always hear people say that they're tired, that they don't want, and I heard this even before Unlikely Prescription. People would say that they want Twisted to make rap again. It's like, well, you obviously aren't listening to Twisted because they put out 2 rap albums that were really good in 2020. So you're just like complaining. You're just complaining right, because you think you haven't even heard the albums. If you think they're putting out rock albums, because that shit was rap as a motherfucker. And there's 2 of them, so they're still putting out rap.
Yeah, Mad Season and Revelation were both really good albums.
Mad Season sounded like it picked up where Abominations left off to me. It was the best album from Twisted since fucking Abominations.
Yeah, when you said that, I was like, I agree. It's really easily my favorite album that they've put out since doing MNE is Mad Season. I love that shit. Revelation 2, I'm wearing a fucking Revelation hoodie right now. That shit was fucking super dope. So yeah, not leaving the rock arena. I can't, like you said, just because it sold so well. They got a lot of love on the Knotfest YouTube channel as well. Like they broke down their whole discography on that channel. That was dope. Yeah, love shit like that. they got a lot of good publicity for this Unlikely Prescription album. So I don't blame them for wanting to continue with it and working with a dude who's worked with Rob Zombie and shit. You know, I've always said I'd love to hear Rob Zombie and Twisted on track. I feel like that shit just makes sense to me.
And then you talk about Draven helping produce. That dude's like a legit fucking rod dude. He fucking drummed for Static X. I've heard that Twisted and Static X gonna go on tour, so I think that's even more of a reason that they're gonna keep doing the right thing.
Absolutely. And then they dropped Songs of Sam Hain 2, The Haunted Record Player, the follow-up to Songs of Sam Hain last year. I kind of thought it was just kind of, it picked up where the first one left off, and it was just kind of, again, just kind of felt kind of put together at the last second, and here's a Halloween-themed record for you.
Yeah, it sounded like another Free Weekend album.
Yeah. Nothing special. Like in the songs that got me hyped, like when I saw the track list, Venomous 5, I was like, yes. But then one of them only had Lee Carver on the hook, and it was like a minute and a half song. I was like, what the fuck is this? This ain't Venomous 5, dude.
Yeah,
This
you have all 5 of them.
Like
it's fucking Venomous 3.
Right. Yeah. Just some thrown together shit. And then they just dropped the Black Friday EP. If you bought a bunch of merch on the web store, they'd send you this EP. To me, it sounded like ESN leftovers, and which was not a bad thing because these songs ended up being better than anything that was on the actual ESN album. It just didn't have ABK on the songs, and Blaze wasn't on 2 of them, I think. It was only 4 songs on the EP, but all 4 songs were really good. I was like, man, why, if these are ESN albums, because I mean, what they're talking about on the songs eludes you to think that it is ESN leftovers. It's like, man, like Blaze and ABK couldn't finish these tracks up and get them on the album because these shits are fire.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe somebody didn't finish their verse in time. That's why they were pulled off there.
Yep. But yeah, Twisted had a pretty good year. I mean, they had Astronomicon went down. Which one was it? Was it 4 or 5?
4, I think.
4. It's like, damn, they've already had 4 of these fucking things. And then at their seminar, they announced that they're gonna do some type of festival. I forget what they called it. Some family
reunion. That fucking name is so cringe. Like, I like the ideal. The name of the fuck thing is so cringy.
Yeah.
I'm over that whole family thing. The whole fucking family thing is so lame to me. I'm just over it.
I don't blame you. When they said that, I was like, can we call it anything else?
Yeah, for sure.
But you know, see if that goes down. They had the Attack of the Ninjas show. Those shows, you know, it's just a highlight of everybody that's on M&E, and that shit looked dope as well. So Twisted fucking stayed busy for 2021 as well.
They were doing some streams and shit too. I know M&E was like Zool had the Dead Alive stream, shit like that. Yeah. So yeah, M&E was definitely staying busy.
Yeah, I feel like the streams served its place, especially the live performance streams. I feel like it's not really necessary anymore, just because people are back out doing shit.
Yeah.
But when everything was closed and shut down, those streams were like much needed and just fucking dope. Like when they did, I know it was last year, but when they did NetFest, and then you had Monoxide fucking during, was it Rock the Dead? He's like, I want you to fucking mosh with your cat, fucking move the coffee table. I want you to get live. I'm like, this is so dope.
Yeah, oh yeah, that was dope. He kept saying like, move that Audubon out of the way. I see you get wild. Move that Audubon. Get that cat out of the room.
So fucking dope, man.
And it was a fun. I said it at the time. I felt like I was at the gathering. It lasted all fucking day. Like there was people there was people that would be opening the gathering second stage that were playing that I'd never heard of. I just had one in the background. Then by the end of the night, man, Blaze came on and fucking killed it. And then Twisted, man, that's one of my favorite sets from Twisted ever. They schooled that shit. Monoxide smoking weed and like Mad Jocks don't know it. He's like, oh shit, Monoxide smoking weed.
Of course, monoxide
He's like, you
always
better be
smoking.
smoking something.
Super dope, man. And then they continued with the streams going into this year. It was dope. Served its purpose for in a time where we didn't have live performances and it was the only way we could get it.
One of the other, maybe the biggest thing, probably the biggest thing to twist it is they got cleared to get their own Funko Pops this year too. So knowing how big those dudes are of collectors of Funko, like that would be like me getting my own WWF Hasbro figure. How I collect Hasbros, like these dudes fucking live and breathe fucking Funko Pops, and they're gonna be one. So that's pretty dope.
That is dope. I don't collect funk. I say it all the time. I don't collect them, even though I got a
As you got
fucking
50 of them behind you.
I only collect one character, and it's just I get every pop of that one character. But I'll definitely cop that twisted pop when it drops because that's super dope, man. Very dope.
Yeah. And they basically started their own toy line this year. They haven't really came out and said that, but Knucklehead, that toy production company, that's an M&E project. They're the ones that put out the Pakalika fucking figure and everything. So Twisted, man, they're getting it popping on several different levels.
Yeah, man. They got their comics. All they got they're starting up a new series of comic books, The Curse of the Green Book or whatever. They got their fucking hand everywhere they could possibly get it, and they're doing it.
Distributing merch for other artists like Chris Calico.
Chris Calico, Ritz, Royce the 5'9",
Yeah.
Trick, fucking dope. I guess one last major topic I want to talk about is strange music. Man, strange music had a fucking crazy 2021. 75% of the record label fucking pieced out or got kicked off the fucking label. BB Stone left. Godamus ripped off a bunch of people on Versus and got the boot. JL fucking ripped off a bunch of people on Versus, got the boot. Chris Calico left. That was the biggest one. UBI leaves shortly after Chris Calico. Like, there's not much left of strange music. Tech Nine put out a really good album this year, but it's where Strange was, where Strange is now it's a lot different. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. It doesn't feel like strange music much anymore, if at all. It's really just, Tech Nine's really the only one left from all those dudes that made it feel like strange music. What do you think of fucking everybody getting the boot or just leaving the label?
It reminded me of Psychopathic a few years ago whenever they had that huge roster and people had to leave. There's just not enough money to go around. There's not enough records being sold in the underground for everybody to get paid anymore. This is something inevitable that's happening. We just talked about like all the shit that M&E's doing. Like that's what's one of the things that's so impressive about it is you got fucking things like Suburban Noise, Psychopathic, Strange, and all the dudes that were running shit, and they're like their business are slowly fading away. Like it's basically down to just those artists themselves now on their label, and that's what it reminded me of. Just that there's not enough money to go around in underground anymore to have a big ass label like that. That's why ICP stopped signing artists. They were like, what can we do for an artist now? Take half of their money, half of their money that's already been cut and fucking to a tenth because of streaming. I mean, it just sign of the times is basically what I was thinking. And once you lose Chris Calico, that's basically the Strange fucking logo guy. Once you lose him, man, it's pretty much just Tech.
Yeah, it's crazy. I do feel like King ISO really fits that strange music mold really well. I'd be curious to see how long he stays on the label.
He gets a lot of support too.
Yeah, I was a fan of fans. I was a fan of him before Strange Music, the Strange Music deal, and but yeah, Chris Calico leaving was it was big, man. Because Chris Calico, he'd been strange since the beginning.
And that stage show, him and Tech, man, that stage show is gonna be what suffers, man. You're not gonna be able to find somebody like Calico that's gonna know everything that Tech's thinking on stage and be able to match them. That was the biggest thing when I was like, damn, man, I'm glad I got to see those two together. I'm glad I got to see them whenever Cut was with them as a 3-piece too, because I'm on record saying whenever it was those three, they're the best show in hip hop I've ever seen. A lot of hip hop artists don't do a whole lot. They drag a bunch of people on stage and like fucking spin a fucking towel. Like
Right.
DMX and Tech Nine are the best two performers I've seen live in hip hop, and I think Tech Nine's even better than DMX was. So whenever I heard that, I was like, damn, I'm glad I got to see that shit live and experience it before it went away. Like we were talking about with, getting Dark Lotus back together before that shit goes away. I'm glad I got to see Calico and Tech on stage together numerous times because that was a spectacle.
Absolutely. I've said it before. A Tech Nine show is the best hip hop show you could see. Like you he's rapping, he's not rapping over tracks. Um there's choreography, there's fucking costume changes. He's got all sorts of shit on stage that's going fucking crazy. A
Light
Tech Nine show,
shows.
yeah, man. Like a Tech Nine show when he was with Chris Calico and Cut. I've seen him when he was with Cut, but even when Cut left and it was just him and Chris, still a fucking top notch rap show all around. It's just super dope.
Yeah, that was my biggest takeaway from Cali leaving because I'm I listen to Cali's music, but I'm not somebody that's gonna go listen to Cali as soon as it comes out. Where I've got to hear that music like I am with like ICP or Super Famous or anything like that. So that's what I thought of it be. It's like, damn, those shows are gonna be totally different. I know Tech has done a couple shows since then. I'm kind of interested to go watch those on YouTube and see how they turned out because it just got to be so different not having Cali up there.
I know. Yeah, I'd like to see him hold down a stage by himself. I bet it's still a good show. I bet it's still a good show, but it's definitely going to be missing that like special sauce from fucking Chris Calico for sure.
They've been doing it for
Um,
20 years. That'd be like Shaggy Two Dope not being on stage with Violent J or Monoxide not being on stage with fucking Madrox. They're so used to it now.
yeah, it's weird. I'm surprised they let fucking Chris go, but like you said, maybe it's a fucking sign of the times. He's got to go do
Yeah.
his own thing. Just go get the whole piece of the pie himself.
Yep. When you're not
Uh,
making money off of like physical albums and shit, your merch is what you're making your money off of. And if he's on Strange, they get half of it. I mean, rightfully so. It's their fucking record label. But if you're off of it, you're getting it all yourself. So I definitely see why they did it.
Absolutely. And then probably the highlight of the year for strange music was Tech Nine's Asinine. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to it, but this was a fucking dope record from Tech Nine. I didn't know what to expect. Following up from Interfere last year, which I wasn't a fan of. The year before that, he had Nina, which was I love that album. I put that in my top 5 of all time Tech Nine albums. It was so good. But this Asinine album was um, super dope. There's 2-3 songs maybe that I didn't like, but everything else was just top tier. And he had he had The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson rapping on this motherfucker, and that shit
Straight
went
up.
viral like a motherfucker.
That was cool to see because I remember all the way back in like 2009, 2010, The Rock would be like showing his workout and in the background you would hear Tech Nine playing and somebody like commented on it like, Dad, you listen to Tech Nine? He's like, I listen to Tech Nine all the time when I'm working out. That's my fucking shit. Gets me hyped. So it's cool that he's a fan and then went on it's not just like fucking Tech's got the biggest fucking movie star ever on his fucking album. It's actually a fan of Tech that happens to be the biggest movie star ever that's on his album.
I think this is the biggest feature that he's ever had, above Eminem. Yeah, Eminem's probably the biggest rapper, maybe. I don't know. It'd be tough between him and Drake, but Eminem, he's up there as one of the biggest rappers, if not the biggest rapper. But The Rock is just like his superstar power is just another level. And like when it was announced, I was like, yo, this is the biggest feature Tech ever had. And yo, even though I think Tech Nine wrote The Rock shit, The Rock delivered on that verse. Like he delivered that verse really well.
That's what The Rock knows how to do. Like all of his wrestling promos were scripted by Brian Gewirtz. Like he knows how. Like if you give him something, he'll figure out how to fucking school it. He's just not good at doing
Yeah,
his own shit. But if you give him something that's fire, man, he'll fucking figure it out. He's a performer. He knows how to fucking perform.
yeah, hell yeah. That shit, his voice, like it's The Rock. I just picture a roided out Rock in the fucking vocal booth. fucking
Not even fitting in the
rap
vocal booth. They can't even close the door because he's so fucking swole.
facts. Oh man, but yeah, that Tech Nine album was really. Did you get a chance to hear it?
Yeah, we did on 5 Piece. We did our top 5 Tech Nine songs, and I ended up going back and listening to like a bunch of old school Tech, and then I was digging it so much. I was like, I'm gonna listen to the new album. It sounds motivated. Like some of the Tech albums I didn't like. He didn't seem motivated. It didn't seem like he really had a purpose for making the song. He was just making the song to make a song. And I said it on that 5 Piece, man. You give Tech some fucking reason to be rapping, and he'll fucking bring fire. Like you piss him off or give him some kind of reason. Like I was talking about that fucking flow he did that time at Jay pissed him off. Like, man, he fucking annihilated the mic on that shit. And that's you get motivated Tech, man, and he's gonna fucking light that mic on fire. And it sounded like motivated Tech on that album.
Yes, I like that you say that because you could tell when Tech is motivated and when he's not. But yeah, I felt like this album was definitely motivated Tech. I fucked with it heavy. Super dope album.
I bet once he found out The Rock was going to be on there, he was like, I got to make this shit good because a lot of fuck people are going to hear it. So I think that probably motivated him a little bit too. I mean, fuck, everybody's going to listen to a song with The Rock on it. So you better make that next song that follows it really fucking dope.
Hell yeah. Super dope. Couple other topics I had. We DMX died this year. That was big. You know, I fuck with DMX, especially those first few albums, heavy.
My favorite rapper of all time.
Yeah, that was really sad because it seemed like he was on the up and up and everything was good. And then next thing you know, he passed. Rest in peace, DMX. That shit was just sad, man.
He had just done that verses with Snoop. So you're thinking like, you know, he's fucking about to get back up on tour. He was like talking about recording a new album and shit. And it's just like, it's another thing we're talking about with the Violent J thing, man. Like that just reminds you, fucking shit could happen at any time. Fucking don't fucking stall out. Fucking make shit happen because somebody might not be here tomorrow that you want to fuck with.
Right.
That's one of the dudes that I regret not getting to see live. I always wanted to see DMX live ever since I seen his performance at Woodstock 99. I was like, I want to see this motherfucker live because he goes off. He like cry on stage and fucking, I remember a couple times he almost died from asthma attacks. He would go so hard. So I always wanted to see him live. And that's one thing I thought whenever I seen that he died, I was like, man, I'm never going to get to see that motherfucker live. It's like Tupac. Like, I always want to see that motherfucker live. And Saint, whenever Saint passed away, it's like that made me even madder that they got kicked off of Halloween at 98 before it fucking hit Detroit because I was supposed to see that motherfucker and they got kicked off.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That Woodstock performance, DMX, like that clip always goes around. It always pops up a couple times a year, him performing, and that shit is just crazy. The whole crowd going fucking nuts for him. I love that shit.
He was huge. That was when he just came out. Like Hell Is Hot came out in 98 and fucking Blood of My Blood in 99. So that motherfucker was on top of the world then.
Yep. Fucking just killing it. Another death that we had, rest in peace to Menacide. I don't know if you were familiar with Menacide. He was part of the Wicked Underground scene. I fucked with Menacide going back to his Drugs album from 2005, 2006, something like that. You know, this is going back to the horrorcore.com forums. And that was sad to see him pass. It just sucks anytime you listen to somebody whose music you fuck with and that you vibe out to, just fuck, you know, they're not here anymore. It just sucks, you know?
It's always cool that the music is still there though. Like I was talking to you before we went on the air. We finally got our boy Mike Sears to listen to Royal Highness and to hear Saint. Like, you know, I hadn't listened to that album in a few months, and to hear Saint like kind of freshly again, it's like almost like he's there again. So it's dope that the music remains whenever somebody like that dies, and especially if you're a fan of them because you can go back to it. But yeah, it sucks whenever you lose somebody that makes music you like, because especially me, there's not a whole lot of the motherfuckers around anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody that made the rock music I like died in the 90s.
I never got to see Alice in Chains live. I know you've mentioned them a few times. You did the documentary. Never got to see them live, man. And they're a top 5 band for me. I would have loved to see Alice in Chains live. It wouldn't be the same seeing them now and just seeing some other dude up there performing
Yeah.
lame shit. It's not what I want to see.
Yeah, the only cool part about that is I would say like the fans singing along Lane's part's cool because it's like Lane is living through the fans, but the other dude up there singing along over the mic's what kills it for me.
Right. Right.
Like name yourself something different. You're not Alice in Chains unless Lane Staley's in the fuck band.
Yeah. Couple other things I wanted to talk about. Oh, the Horror. We kind of mentioned them before. They put out a project with Blaze Day Homie. Oh, the Horror meets Blaze, which was it's a dope EP. If you slept on that shit, go peep it. But they put out their new album 1692. That shit made me a fan. If you don't like pop punk, you're not gonna like it. But I thought that shit was fire. These dudes, they meshed like wicked shit, pop punk, new metal, like just straight metal. Like dude be screaming his ass off on some of these songs. Like they mix so many different styles together, and it just comes out super dope, man. Like these dudes are fucking talented.
And to go along with that, the one thing I always hear from people that say they didn't like Oh the Horror, hadn't gave them a chance yet, they say they seen them live and they're so good live it makes them want to go listen to the album. So you know they're talented if they're able to pull that shit off live. A lot of bands are studio musicians and only sound good in the studio. So whenever people's that come back that aren't a fan of Oh the Horror comes back and say these motherfuckers can put it down live, that shows that they're pretty fucking talented musically.
Yep. I haven't seen them live, but that gets me hyped for whenever they do go on tour and I get the chance to see them. That gets me hyped.
I think they'd be a perfect opener for that Static X and Twisted tour I was talking about. If that happens, like you would think whenever Twisted goes out to perform Unlikely Prescription, they're going to bring Ola Hort with them.
Man, I remember when Unlikely Prescription came out, it was like, why didn't they just fucking have Oh the Horror fucking do this shit?
Yeah.
Like they produce really good rock shit, or bring them on as a like, and they got Draven as the drummer, and then they announced like they got a guitarist. Like, just bring the fucking guys from All the Horror.
Yeah,
you know. But that album 1692 is fucking fire. One of the other headlines from this year, Straight Jacket, working with M&E now, working with Twisted. Some people got up in arms about that shit. Good for Straight Jacket. He's got to get that money too, you know. And you know what Straight Jacket, you're gonna get a good mixed project. So I'm for it.
Straight Jacket's working with everybody now. He came back to work on Yum Yum. He's working with fucking M&E, and he was scheduled to be at Camp Zool with LLE, but he ended up getting COVID and not being able to make it. But he was supposed to, so he was basically working with all three of the major fucking labels in the underground. Shout out to him for that. I love seeing that shit.
Oh yeah, it seems like Straight Jacket is the only exception to the rule.
And he's only the exception to the rule once everybody heard Yum Yum's lure, because he wasn't the exception until ICP seen the reception that fucking Yum Yum Lure's got. Then they're like, oh shit, we better bring this motherfucker back.
Bring him back. Shout out to Straight Jacket. He's got his own studio and shit like that. So it was cool to see him work with Twisted, work on ICP's new Joker's card, he mixed and produced some shit for Zool, I believe, as well.
Yep.
So that was dope. And then one last thing before we bounce up out of here, Rude Boy dropped a book. And I haven't got through it yet, but what I've read so far, it's pretty good. And I like that we get a behind the scenes from somebody that's like not in the band, but who is like right fucking there behind the scenes the entire time.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to read. I don't have it or haven't heard anybody talk about it to know if it's any good or not, but you would think him growing up right beside Shaggy and Jay that he's gonna have a lot of stories. He was always like helping promote and fucking, I'm sure he's one of the people that was driving around the vans handing out samplers. So I'm sure he's got a lot of fucking dope stories to tell.
Yeah.
As long as it's written better than Tom Wood's book to where you can actually comprehend it.
You can.
Or Tom Dub, I mean.
Yeah, I've read the first few chapters. It's way easier to read than Tom Dub's book. That fucking book was, man, He just
It's,
fucking put a bunch of words on a piece of paper and said, "Here you go."
I don't even think he put it on paper. I think he just talked to his fucking cell phone and just sent that shit in.
Talk to text. That's hilarious.
Straight up. Like he fucking just had Siri fucking write that shit for him.
I wouldn't doubt it. That's fucking hilarious. But
Project Born had a book that came out called Straight Out the Jacks from the same author as Rude Boy. So if that one's written pretty well, then I might check out the Project Born one as well.
yeah, when I'm done with this Rude Boy book, I'm gonna check out that Project Born book because this book is written well. So I'd like to hear them talk about their career and what they fucking went through, while they were on Psychopathic and shit. Like that's stuff that's never really been talked about, or if it has, I don't know about it. So
Like Violent J talks about it briefly in the book, saying that they signed them based on an album, and then whenever they signed them, like he said that Project Born lost that album. So I'd like to hear like that story and if they've ever found that, because if he said that album was so much better than the one that actually came out on Psychopathic that he felt that one would have popped if they didn't lose it. So I'd like to hear stories about that and see if those songs still exist. They ever plan on trying to find them or putting them out or anything like that. Speaking of Project Born, before we get out of here, like one of the doper things from The Gathering is ICP brought out Project Born to do Graveyard live. I don't think that had ever happened, so that was dope. I forgot to mention that in The Gathering whenever we was recapping it, but that was one of the highlights of The Gathering for me.
that's a fucking classic song. That's a classic song. So dope. Yeah, seeing the footage of them perform that shit, that was fucking fire.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up. Fucking, this is easily the longest podcast I've ever done. Beneath the Dirt. I appreciate you joining me. Yo, and let's talk about your 2021. You've been killing it this year with being part of the Goons Clout Gallery, the 5-piece on the Fago Lovers channel. Since UFC is done, that's probably the best Juggalo show on YouTube right now. That shit is super dope. I just love listening to you guys talk about your favorite shit, breaking shit down. You've had me on for a couple episodes, which was super dope, super appreciated.
Your reaction whenever Luke picked "Walk It Out" as his favorite Blaze song of all time is one of the best moments of the year.
Luke the Goon's #1 Blaze Day homie song, "Walk It Out." I'm like, what? What the fuck did you just say? It's a good song, don't get me wrong, but #1?
Yeah, you ever heard One Less G?
I know, right?
You ever heard that album at all? But yeah, we just wanted to talk some Juggalo shit, man. Like, I always look for Juggalo content on YouTube, either for it to be like historical, if I find something I think I want to use in a documentary moving forward, or if it's just something I want to watch for the night. And everything was just beef. It's just like fucking somebody hating on fucking Twisted, or somebody hating on ICP, or somebody hating on this Juggalo, and they're beefing with that. It's like, man, I just want to talk Juggalo shit. So I just try to find fucking some people that want to talk. I always want to get you on it, but we record at like midnight whenever we record and you go to bed early. So we just wanted some Juggalos like ourselves to just like the music, to talk about the music. It's cool to see people actually enjoy that. I've seen some people in the comments saying it's refreshing to watch a Juggalo show where we're just talking about the music and all the fucking nostalgia and not talking about who's mad at who and shit like that. So if you dig fucking classic Juggalo shit, what we do is it's like a top 5 every week. It's called 5-piece. So like we'll do our top 5 whatever. The past one that we did that's out right now, we did top 5 Tech 9 tracks. So we went through that. And I give my top 5. Luke gives his, and Mike gives his, and we all talk about memories we have from it. I play clip from whatever we pick and shit like that. So if you're looking for some Juggalo content that ain't like who's mad at who and who's beefing, just check out Fago Lovers Thursday, 8 p.m. every Thursday.
Hell yeah. I got to give you guys props on that top 5 Tech 9 list. I really thought it was going to be like Angelic, Absolute Power, and Ever Ready, like songs from those 3 albums, and that was it. But there was a really good mix of Tech 9 songs in there. Like shit I wouldn't have picked personally, but I liked seeing the variety of songs from the different albums, because Tech has a fucking huge catalog. His catalog is massive. He has so many good songs, and it was such a dope episode.
I had 13 songs in my top 5 from Tech. That's how long my list was, because I'd listen to the shit and write down, and like I ended up having 13 songs. So like 8 got knocked out of the top 5 for my eventual top 5. So I had 13 top 5 tech songs. That's how many fucking good tracks that motherfucker has.
Oh yeah. Yeah, man. Tech is that dude, and it was a dope episode. Peep that shit out on the Fago Lovers channel. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you're still tuned in now, I appreciate it. I do have people saying they want longer podcasts. Here the fuck you go. Hope
you got it, motherfucker. Yeah, your ass is asleep. You've been sitting here so long. It's time.
But I appreciate everybody that's tuned in for the year-end wrap-up. It was, you know, as far as music-wise, it was a pretty fucking good year. And news-wise, all that shit, we had a pretty fucking good year this year. Shout out to Joker's Gallery for joining me. I'm Ro Bono, the Beneath the Dirt podcast. And until next time, I'm out.